Anyway, boys and girls and Moogles of all ages, welcome to a Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide restream, this time on the FF6WC Twitch channel. My name is TheSchwanz27, and I am joined by some world record holder royalty here, Squack McQuack, joining me for commentary. What's going on tonight?
Nothing too much. I'm actually really excited to watch a race between these three in Potion A. They're really solid runners, up-and-comers, and they've got some really consistent good times. I believe Cloud Darkwood actually PB'd recently, so I think the other two should be very careful around our man Cloud.
Yeah, so let's take a look at the standings here in our Potion A division. So we've only run one race so far this particular season. This is week number 2. And we can see here that Cloud Darkwood is actually currently in second in the division. Our other two featured runners, Nobody War and One Free Fits, are in 4th and 5th respectively. So there is plenty of time for them to catch up, because if you do get first place in your division, you get the coveted 9 points. That is 3 more than second place. And even if you get second, you still get 6 points, which is 2 more than third place. So lots of time to catch up here. And it's only the first week, Squack.
Yeah, it's actually really exciting. I've seen these guys race and hone their times to a fine edge, and they're very consistent runners, very good, and I actually learn a lot watching them there.
Yeah, so for those of you that are just joining us, we are doing Ultros League, so we need to get to 6 characters and 9 espers, as you see in the red part of this graphic here. So if you're new to Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide, it's basically an open world randomizer for Final Fantasy VI. And these are the major beat points here on this particular slide. So we'll explain things as they go along here, but just wanted to bring your attention to this before we get on to our race between our 3 competitors here, Nobody War, One Free Fits, and Cloud Darkwood. So there have been some changes in Ultros League Season 3 compared to the past 2 seasons. Squack, what, in your opinion, is the change that influences our races the most here in Ultros League Season 3?
I think how Kefka at Narsh is handled going to be now, with Mog being able to go to Kefka at Narsh, and then after you finish Kefka at Narsh, you get automatically teleported back down. If you happen to have Mog or Terra within your party, it does make that Narsh sweep not only just as good, but even better, because of the fact that you are being teleported to and from those parts of Narsh that take the longest to walk down. So I think that actually has a pretty good influence depending on your characters. There's one other one. I think Magitech is huge if you get Celeste and are able to unlock all of Magitech. Even if you don't, though, throwing 2 earrings on somebody with Magitech. Magitech is something that, for the viewers who might not know, you actually start off with Fire Beam, Ice Beam, Thunderbolt, and a healing spell. That's free right off the bat. If you have Celeste and finish the Magitech Factory, you get access to an instant kill, which is, I forget the name of it.
Xfer, I think is what it's called.
Xfer, yes, thank you.
Yep.
And Tech Missile and Confuser. So Confuser obviously going to be confusing your opponents, which could confuse Katana Soul into killing himself. Tech Missile is basically Flare, but a faster animation. And, Xfer is obviously that instant kill spell. So it does set you up pretty nicely for the entire run if you're able to pull it off. So I think those swaps, just those alone, can save minutes and minutes off of a time.
Yeah, I also like the change to having both rods in shops again and Super Balls in shops, but for a much higher price than they are in our vanilla game. Normally, rods were very cheap and very powerful for what they are, but in Season 3, they're now back in shops at 4 times what they cost for the Fire, Ice, and Thunder rods. They're twice as much money, I believe, for the Pearl rod, and Super Balls are also twice as much money. So we could do that if we have some shoppers on our hands, and we'll see what we start out with. So it depends on what 3 characters we start with, as you mentioned. If we do get Celeste with a Magitech, then we'll see that particular unlock. So that's always really good to see. Any other thoughts on Season 3 changes? It does seem that also with a new check, right? It does seem that we're running into some dead checks more often, because now there's one more chance that you can get a dead check, right?
Yeah, that's true too. That's all the RNG aspect of it, right? It's when it comes to being able to use your skill to kind of try to give yourself a good RNG kind of advantage, or give yourself a it's okay if it's a dead check kind of thing because it's still fast. I think Mog's check being added, even though it might be a dead check, it's also still really fast. You can also go to the Moogle room above that check to teleport out of it, which is the only World of Balance Narsh part that you can actually teleport out of. So it is a very fast check still, and it looks like we're starting.
Yeah, so, and we're starting with Strago with his natural lore. Didn't see very much on it. We also got Sabin and Setzer on deck. Did not see what those two have on them.
But they have a Bioblaster as a tool.
Yeah, which is not good.
No.
Not good at all. So yeah, we do have a couple of really interesting checks right away. We do have some free checks with Setzer's Colon Jinin and the Collapsing House from Sabin. We don't have to fight anything when we do those particular checks, so we'll see if our runners decide to get one or more of them before going on and doing checks with some battles in it. And there's an Atma weapon in a chest. That'll be nice for later on in the seed there.
Yeah, there we go. I was just thinking, and I just lost my train of thought immediately. It got derailed. I hate when that happens. No.
That's all right. Let me try and spin it back into you. So we do have Sabin as well, who has the Imperial Camp, which is another popular spot to go very early on in the seed, because there are 4 forced encounters with no bosses. So that's an easy way to get some levels. So we'll see if our runners decide get one or more chances of free progression and then go to the Imperial Camp to get some levels. But we do have one character with Strago whose checks are not so appealing, so we'll see if we get any early Burning House plays. I know that one free Fitz is a fan of that check, so we'll see if he goes in there.
This is Schwantz, this is why I love you, because you you put it back into me, and it reminded me exactly of what I was going to say. So with Super Balls being so expensive, oh yeah, we looks like we forgot to put our Moogle Charm on.
Alright, so we have Setzer with Sword Tech, by the way, and Sabin with Sketch. So go ahead, continue on with your thought.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, with the Super Balls being so expensive and not a lot of consistent ways of cheesing early fights, it's actually, I always found that 3 and 3 of progression, or a total of 6 progressions before you start doing checks, something like Sabin's checks with fixed encounters and no bosses, I find that's the magic number for me to try to get consistency out of my runs. Is to the highest I'll go ever is 6 with free checks. So we'll see how high these guys want to put themselves depending on what checks we see. But if they go above 6, that'd be scary for me. But I always find 3 and 3, or some combination of the two, is kind of where you want to be now, because it's not so good to play risky anymore in Ultros League Season 3. It's dangerous.
Yeah, because you will increase progression for 2 levels for every piece of progression you have. So progression is a character, Esper, or Dragon. So in this case, Nobody War's enemies will be at level 8, compared with his other opponents are only at level 6. And when you mention 3 pieces of extra progression, that means that enemies would be level 12. So that's about your max. We do start at level 3, but as we mentioned, there are ways to get off of level 3. You can take off the Moogle Charms that we give you, or forget to put them on in Nobody War's case. Or you can go to the Imperial Camp here. And there's fire and ice rods for sale in that shop that Cloud Darkwood has shown us. They are $10,000 and $9,000 respectively, so that might be a way to get past some of our early bosses here, and Fitz is taking advantage, picking up a couple fire rods there.
Nobody War also went into the World of Balance South Figaro relic shop, and there was an economizer in there.
That's very nice early on, especially since we have lore on Strago, right? I didn't see any great lores on it. I saw stone, which it's okay if you really do some math and know that your enemies are like a multiple of your level and stuff like that. But um, yeah, Economizer is quite a hefty priced item at this point in the game. So would rather see it in a chest. And all of our runners here look like they're dipping into the South Figaro basement. The treasure is too nice to pass up, even if there is a potential Celeste check that we are going to double dip here.
Yeah, I feel like in the Season 3 Ultros League flag set, more loot boxes isn't always a bad thing, even if you take some extra time to look for them. Just because with how things have shifted to more expensive in shops and things like that,
Oh my god.
it's definitely helpful to. Oh my gosh, yeah, wow.
So Ice Shield, Flame Shield, and 2 chests of 5-digit GP. So I think we'll just turn around and go back right into that weapon shop and buy some more rods, please. So maybe we don't have to go to Imperial Camp right away. Maybe we could just brute force our way through a boss, because those rods, you break them and they cast a maximum damage, not blockable, unreflectable tier 2 element of whatever it is, either ice or fire in our case.
Yeah, it's definitely helpful. I think there's earrings in the shop as well that I saw. So even if you grab yourself some rods and some earrings to make sure you're hammering out big damage with those rods, that actually wouldn't be too bad.
All right, well, we'll see if anybody takes the Billy Mays route. That's a lot of damage. Phil Swift, rather, not Billy Mays. Billy Mays is something else. And yeah, there it is.
They look
Buying the Economizer, as you mentioned there. Just throwing down some fat stacks of cash. That's what Cloud Darkwood is up to. And One Free Fits is going to take the World of Balance to Zen. Maybe he's going to peek to see what this Esper is before going to Sabin's check in the Collapsing House. It's a 50 grand glowing stone, so we know it's an Esper. We'll see if it's any cheaper in the World of Ruin.
It would be really clutch for Cloud Darkwood at this point in time to check out that Sen Thief if it ends up being Bahamut. And Economizer and Bahamut is, in my opinion, a busted start. Really good. You can just basically Bahamut all your cares away and watch the dragon just blow the competition away, and you don't have to worry about anything.
Yeah,
just hop on his back.
That is non-elemental, very high battle power, defense ignoring damage there. Sniper in the shop. Unfortunately, nobody can equip it there. I do want to mention we do have Sketch actually on Sabin, and Sabin is not usually great with his magical prowess, but we do have a buffed Sketch and Control in this season. So if we have Sabin making the final party, who knows? Maybe he'll sketch an Ultima from Final Kefka. I may or may not have done that recently in one of my practice runs, and it's really cool.
Definitely makes Sketch and Control a lot better. I won't say very good.
No,
I'll
still
stop
not
myself
good.
before I say that. But it's at least got some niche usage that actually isn't too bad.
Yeah, if you get trained on tier 3 or tier 4 rather from Kefka, you could use Sketch. Actually, that's not true because the Sketch still won't go off, and that's only 29,000 for Phantom from Nobody War there. So very nice picking up that Esper as well. Did we see what was on? Yeah, I was going to ask, did we see what was on Odin yet? I know 2 of our 3 runners have picked up Odin.
No, I have not seen yet. I'm just kind of watching Nobody War's screen just to see what that collapsing house is going to give us.
Yeah, it was not a character, so this is either going to be an Esper or another item for him. That's another elemental rod in the chest, a thunder rod. So we got rods all over the place here. Not checking the monster in the boxes though.
I think that's probably the best route. You never, especially since he didn't save. If he checks it and it is Katana Soul, he's not fast enough. He's probably dead.
Yeah. Although, once you complete the Collapsing House, you cannot get back inside to these monster in a boxes. So he will be, unfortunately, abandoning that forever. However, that might not be a problem, right? We did get an Atma weapon, which is a prime candidate for an offering. However, we're not going to be using that until much later in the game anyway.
Let's take a look at here what Nobody War is going to have for us. I'm waiting.
It is a
Come
ghost
on,
sprite.
cutscene.
These cutscenes always feel like the worst. And it's a Genji shield, which feels bad.
Bump, 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 wow.
Well, listen, we already got 2 elemental shields. I think we were getting a bit greedy trying to ask for a 3rd one there.
That might be true. Yeah, I can see that.
Alright, so Odin has some mute and Merton. Oh boy. With that economizer. And Merton and 2 elemental shields. There we go.
Yeah, he's looking really good now.
Yeah, so we just need to find a couple more elemental shields or maybe some elemental armor. Or I know there was also a rage ring that we found in the South Figaro basement, which will also serve as Merton protection because it absorbs fire. And Cloud Darkwood is taking that and heading into Imperial Camp, and Fitz is following Nobody War into the collapsing house. We'll see if he eventually picks up that Esper and or checks the monster in a boxes here.
Whoops, sorry about that.
Nope, no worries. By the way, ultrosleague.com is the link to our Ultros League website. I believe you could still sign up, although you'll be placed in the tonic division, which is at the bottom of our list there. And here's the pugs where 1 free Fitz in the box. See what he decides to do. He's not going to take it.
Might not be too bad if he's able to get some Minervas out of that, but yeah, I would say probably best for him to not take the gamble.
Yeah, you could probably crack a fire rod and kill them, but there's only a 1/8 chance per pug to drop a Minerva, so it's not very high. This, however, is a much better monster in a box fight because it does give you both XP and MP, and they're undead, so just drop some Revivifies or Phoenix Downs on them and you're good to go.
He might just drop a Thunder Rod on her to dispatch them all faster.
That is much faster. This is a speed run after all, is it not?
That's true. It is a speed running type race. It is good news for Cloud Darkwood, even though he doesn't know what that news is. It is good news for him to for that to not be a problem. He could still find the Katana Soul in a different monster in a box if he ends up trying that.
Yeah, and so far he's avoided the collapsing house, which is fine because it was a dead check Genji shield after all, so if he never goes there, he's going to pick up just that much time over our other 2 runners. Looks like
I was thinking of Nobody War. I apologize.
Oh, no problem. So Nobody War's taking off the Moogle Charm and doing some grind fights, and these are not these grind fights you're looking for.
You're not going to want to stay there for that one.
No.
You're going to want to get out of there as fast as possible. Oh boy, a pearl dropping is not what you want to see.
No. Yeah, so let's run away from this. We'll put the Moogle Charm back on. We'll drink some stuff from the healing bucket, and we'll try again later. So if you go in here in the back entrance for the Narsh, or the South Figaro cave rather, this is a different environment inside the cave than outside the cave. So you get different encounters, and oh my god, these are worse!
Oh no. If he can, I don't
know what Sketch actually does. Is it? Oh, it is N cross.
It is N cross, so that it does have a chance of freezing them. And if he does freeze them, he could just pound on them and then gain the experience from them. However, he's gonna need a bit of a miracle. They're at level 10. They still have a lot of health. He's gonna have to definitely pull one out here somehow.
He's got some rods, so we'll see if he can power through.
Fire Rod is a good choice. The unfroze. It's gonna be too rough. Yeah, it was a good idea, but unfortunately, it's not good.
Oh, clutch block there.
Oh no.
It's alright. Sabin will run away, and it doesn't really matter what happens here, because even if Setzer dies, he still gets out of the fight. And it's another dead check, though, at Imperial Camp. That's a Genji helmet. I'd rather have a Genji shield than a Genji helmet, although a Genji helmet is a nice 18 to 20 grand.
Yeah, it is a nice thing to sell. Unfortunately, it's not very useful in terms of equipping on anybody unless they're really hurting for defense or something. But yeah, just quite a few dead checks on the starting check so far. This is going to be a bit of a bumpy ride for our runners.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind dead checks early on in the seed because then that means that I'm starting to out-level my progression, right? As Fitz picks up his second Magicite there at the Culligan Inn, and Cloud Darkwood finds a very nice encounter here for some XP and Gigantos in the monster in a box.
Yeah, for sure. I've been liking actually watching Cloud Darkwood, kind of watching his progression in terms of becoming a more consistent and threatening runner in terms of how he runs his races. I'm liking a lot of his style.
Yeah.
And as you can see there with how he handled the Gigantos fight, and when he knows what fight is good and what fight isn't, he's just able to really adapt to it and then move on. I've been liking to watch the progression going from, his 2-hour runs, then cutting it down more and more and more, and then having a sub 115, I think it was earlier this week. You can see his practice is paying off.
Yeah, for sure. Good use of heads-up knowledge there. Using Sword Tech 2, which is Retort, which we don't often see outside of maybe doing the infinite retort glitch when it is actually allowed. Knowing that Gigantos does multiple physical attacks per turn, and he's like, you know what? He's probably going to attack me at some point. Retort does a lot more damage than Dispatch, so let's use that instead. Nobody War is in a different environment with a different fight here, and these ghosts won't give a lot of XP, but it is a much easier thing to deal with than Madam Veteran or those Doom Dragons.
Yeah, it's... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, like, it's in Potion A here, and although we're not watching a Mega Elixir race per se, I think at least viewers should take away from this is no matter what rank you're in, there's so many different techs that people use and so many different routing and strategies people use that you can always take something good from each and every rank of runner. It's not so much about the rank you're at, it's how you evolve and improve as a runner.
Yeah, so Nobody War finding some grind fights that he's actually good for. That was the Black Dragon. It's an undead enemy. They'll throw one Revivify at it, and that's easy XP there. So good knowing that he can do that. One Free Fitz, meanwhile, finds a Ragnarok in the weapon shop in World of Ruin Thamasa. We'll see if any of his characters can use it. Nobody War in World of Balance Thamasa, so I think both of these runners are going for a Burning House play here, Squack.
Yeah, it's looking like with a couple of checks that people might have done, and they just think like, you know what, let's do Burning House. Let's just get it out of the way. It's the lesser of all the three evils of Strago's checks. The only other alternative is taking a chance on RNG in Ebbett's Rock or climbing a really long staircase. However, these fights here in the Burning House are not good.
Yeah, this is not a fun fight here. We do have a couple of Thunder Rods, so that'll get us through at least this particular iteration of the fight, but these are pretty tough at level 3. Thankfully, it looks like Fitz is going to pull through here with cracking the 2 rods just to get some levels, and the rest of the fights will then be easier now that he's gained some levels on his characters.
Yeah. Though I think that one of those 2 iterations of that, I think it's Sky Armor that can do it, is Blaster though, and that's dangerous. That is an instant kill attack that if it hits you, you're just down. So that can be really annoying. However, the second fight in Burning House is a lot easier.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
Hopefully you see more of the second fight than you do of the first one.
And it looks like Setzer can use that Ragnarok, so that's what he's going to be doing pretty much all game for the foreseeable future. And yeah, so Nobody War decides, I hate these encounters, I'm out of here. Cloud Darkwood is trying to sell more money in order to get the Zen Thief Esper, so good on him for that. And we'll see where Nobody War decides to go from here. Because we do have Imperial Camp as well, remember, for forced encounters. So it looks like, yep, that's exactly where he's going next.
Right. And it's probably a really good move since he's trying to get his footing, and after that reset, he's probably just trying to find his footing and get a better launch into the seed.
Yeah, having to recover from an unfortunate situation is one of those things that makes, separates the good runners from the great runners. If something does not go your way, you try not to get upset or tilted or let it bother you too much, because there's always the chance to make up more time here. Cloud Darkwood showing us something new, the Phantom Train. We can go into the caboose and see what this reward is, so we'll see what it is, and we'll decide if we want to go through with the rest of the check. It is a ghost.
It is a Magicite Palador, which is not too bad. Palador, I know that personally I like to use it for dodging Fallen One from Final Kefka.
Yeah.
Get your entire party up in the air before when you cast Fallen One. That's if you don't have any Mega Elixirs or anything. It's a really good tech option if there's nothing else to use. So I do like to see Palador sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes it's your only calmness protection too.
Oh, that's actually true, yeah.
And some decent spells on there, Bolt 2 and Berserk. So we now have access to all Tier 2 elemental spells, at least for Cloud Darkwood, right? Because we have the Fire Shield, the Ice Shield that could teach those spells, and now Bolt 2.
Right, and he also has Break, I think I saw on there too, which is going to be helpful for later on. And like you said, Berserk, and I feel like you definitely want somebody to learn Berserk, just in case you run into Magimaster. And Magimaster, for those who don't know, is weak to Berserk. He's susceptible to it, and it causes him to just attack instead of cast a million spells at you and potentially wipe you.
Yeah, definitely the best way to go there, as One Free Fitz is souping up his party for the boss here at the very end. Unfortunately, there are no save points in the Burning House to use any sleeping bags, and we'll see what we get. Thankfully, it's something pretty easy at the end of this awful Burning House. It is Tunnel Armor.
Yeah, Tunnel Armor is something you definitely want to see after having to slog through a bunch of Sky Armors and Spitfires. But yeah, it looks like he should be able to mop this up pretty quickly, especially with the Ragnarok, the Fire 2. I don't think he has any rods left, but it should be pretty easy for him to kind of just get past this and move on. And then we'll see if it's something that we can move forward with pretty quickly.
Of course. The one character that couldn't take the abuse gets abused there.
Oh, no.
You hate to see it happen. So Nobody War is going to get a dead check. Get out of the way, man. Nobody War is going to get a dead check here, which always feels bad, but for you, do you hate seeing dead checks earlier on in the seed or later on in the seed, or you just hate them in general?
I mean, I think I hate bad dead checks. So Genji Helmet, Genji Shield. I don't mind dead checks if they are something that are going to be useful later, or something that is good in terms of defense, like maybe Elemental Shields, a Minerva, Genji Glove. Offering something that actually has an end game usage or mid to end game usage. I just hate when you see a dead check and it's like, hey, here's a Genji helmet. You're just like, come on, man. Like, not only is this a waste of time, because I mean, yeah, the experience is nice, but it's like, it's just no, because you're gonna sell it. Like, you're not gonna keep a Genji helmet.
No, you're
just
not.
Like, just get rid of this.
Thanks
sometimes I hate seeing
economizer.
And I hate seeing economizer late game too, because you much prefer earrings over the economizer. So it's like, couldn't you give this to me earlier, kind of thing. But yeah, in terms of that, for me, it's a love-hate relationship with dead checks.
So in this moment of is this even randomized, we get Shadow in the Burning House with Control. So we could talk about the buffed Control, but I'd much rather talk about the fight that's going on the bottom right here. with Goddess.
Yeah.
Oof.
This is going to be a rough one. I really don't know what Cloud Darkwood's going to really be doing here. It's going to be a really rough ride if he, I mean, no pun intended, but it's as long as he's able to. I don't know. I don't even know what I would do here. I would probably just be like, yeah, I'll come back later.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's one of those things where you've invested all that time into the Phantom Train. And speaking of the Phantom Train, we got the Ghost Train up on One Free Fitz's side in the Doomgaze spot. Unfortunately, the Odin missed, which I always hate when Esper summons an instant death miss. That feels really awful, because this fight could have been so much faster for him. And Nobody War has to deal with yet another difficult boss here with Atlas. So we'll see which one of our runners on the left pull through with their hard bosses as Fitz takes down the Choo Choo Train. Can you
Yeah,
suplex Goddess? I don't think you can suplex statue boss.
I don't think so. I think the statue bosses are they don't get hit by that. But it looks like it's a Magicite, Ifrit,
Very nice.
1 free fits after killing Phantom. Yeah, I always found it really weird how Odin and Raiden can miss so frequently when I use them.
Oh, that's a nice spell there. Osmose, X-Zone, and Fire 3. We've got a lot of nice utility on that spell there. Let's see.
Sprinkle a little bit of health bonus on there for you, just in case.
So Goddess, you can't control and you can't suplex. So here we go. For those of you out there wondering.
Looks like 1 free fits is going to take the Ebbets Rock plunge and hope that his RNG works out for him. I did watch a practice Ultros League run, and they hit, I think, like 8 chests of 1 coral each.
Oh, God.
And it was just abysmal to watch. I was like, this is the worst. I don't understand. But looks like 1 free fits is hitting an amazing amount of coral.
He's got 3.
He's at 16 right now.
Yeah, that's really nice. I in one of my seeds recently, I recorded it and I timed it. 1 minute and 30 seconds from the time I hit 22 to the time I got to the boss chest. I felt like I was in there forever. It was awful. Oh no, and now the timer has gone off, and unfortunately Cloud Darkwood, its whole team turns into zombies. That's going to be a wipe for him.
Brutal.
Nobody Ward does, however, pull through with his Atma falling down the falls, so that's really nice for him to see that recovery after getting, some bad RNG with his forced encounter or his random encounters early, and that wipe as well.
Looks like 1 free fits is now also just trying to locate that talking chest so that he can start fighting the boss. But this is where the RNG comes into play, where he has to just keep looking around for that one little bit of RNG to get him to that box. So for now, he's just kind of pick up some extra coral. Why not? He's still looking for the chest.
Oh,
It is not putting him in the room he needs to be in. This is what happens at Ebbets Rock, where you can. He's still ahead in terms of characters and espers, but it's this lead he has is dwindling with how much longer he's taking in this check.
It was a behemoth suit at the bottom of Barren Falls, so Sabin's checks have not been too fruitful so far.
Oh, behemoth check might be okay for Strago, right? Because that does give him a little bit more magic power than a Nutkin suit would. I can't remember.
Yes. It's not a Genji helmet or a Genji shield, I'll give you that. But that's yeah. 3 dead checks from Sabin here. So maybe
1 free fits made it.
Maybe leaning into Strago was the way. And it's Fun Baba
Buddy.
At the end of the RNG cave. Yeah, so Kurgsy pointing out in the chat, maybe it would have been time to break a shield on Goddess, the ice and the fire shield. Yeah, it does, jeopardize his Merton protection later in the seed, but if you didn't want to lose all that time, that's certainly a thing you could do. The problem is, if you break those 2 shields and Goddess is still alive, then what do you do?
Yeah, it's like, okay, well, it just feels bad. There's like no winning in that situation, it feels like sometimes.
Yeah.
But looks like we got some flares going off on Fun Buddy over here on 1 free fits' screen.
Yeah, it's a nice proc from the Ragnarok, and we still got some fire rods left over, and that's a toasty goblin there.
He's gone. We'll get to see what is in here. Hopefully it's something that can really help with the chugging of the seed. Actually, I think 1 free fits is actually doing pretty good. In terms, he's 4-4 right now, just below 30-minute mark, so that's pretty good. A little above average, I think.
Yeah, I like
speed.
And there's some more Merton for him. I like the play of doing Ebbets Rock right after Burning House because of its proximity. You're right there. Ebbets Rock always feels a lot longer than it actually is, especially when you get really horrific luck. But the lower right hand part of the World of Ruin. There's nothing else over there, so you might as well get value from flying your airship all the way.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. It looks like Cloud Darkwood is going to keep trying all of all of Saban's checks.
This is the only one we haven't seen, right? And
yeah, that's it. Yeah, we haven't seen it.
Another Ragnarok there for Fitz, so...
Ooh.
Unfortunately, okay. So Saban can use Ragnarok and Shadow can use Atma weapons, so his party is getting very beefy here with the physical offense.
Yeah, he's going to start tearing down bosses really fast, and I think that's what's going to help him kind of get a little bit of a push in terms of his lead here and try to probably keep it. But we'll have to see what else kind of comes in one free Fitz's way, because I think he did have to kind of reset once, or can't remember.
And we got Niles and Frazier, the Cranes, for Cloud Darkwood, and a floating continent trip from one free Fitz. I like this play from him at this point in the game, right? Or race rather, with 4 characters and 4 espers, you're guaranteed progression on spots 1 and 3, and this will also get you a ton of levels. And I don't really think he's afraid of whatever the bosses are going to be at the end of this.
No, he definitely has the offense that he needs to be able to wipe most bosses off the face of the earth. I think the only thing I would really worry about is Magimaster, but I mean, even then, he's just got so much ready for an encounter like that. He'd probably be able to handle it just fine.
And it is Carbuncle, so 2 out of Saban's 5 checks were not dead, which is awful. But at least it's not a dead check for Cloud Darkwood here. And curiously, I don't think Nobody War checked what's in the caboose here at Phantom Train. I think he's just going.
Yeah, that's a pretty strange play. I myself would like to go into the caboose and get the Magicite at least if it's something really good, like Magic Power or something. So you'd think you'll want to take that before a fight so that you can at least get whatever benefits that might come out of a Magicite or an item.
Yeah, the only thing that is the negative thing about getting the thing at the caboose is you do increase the scaling because you technically have obtained the reward, right? But at this point, you know, he's gotten a couple of dead checks under his belt, so I think increasing the scaling is not that big of a deal. Cloud Darkwood, by the way, that Magicite from Mount Cults is Magic Power +1, so if we are going to stick with one of our users as a caster all seed, that's some good news for him. And it looks like Nobody War is going to burn a shield here after getting the overcast. And there it is. Nice job.
There it goes.
Yeah, if you've learned the spells on the elemental shields, I think it's okay to break them. One of the things that Worlds Collide at least has taught me is to be the opposite of what normal people do in RPGs and hoard everything. You're only going to use it. You're only going to lose it if you don't use it, right? So.
Right. Right, absolutely. Did we see what was in the tomb where Cloud Darkwood is yet?
No, he hasn't gotten to the inscription on the tomb yet.
I wonder if he's going to be going in to check what the monster in the box is there. It could be Katana Soul.
Yeah, he did skip the ones in Collapsing House, I believe. Or, no, I'm sorry, that was Nobody War that did it. And this is another subtle change I like with Ultros League Season 3, is the floating background on Floating Continent's second part of the first check. It's much slower, and it feels much, much better. My motion sickness doesn't go haywire when I fight this boss anymore.
Yeah, I really do like the change. It was definitely welcome for sure when I had seen it. I'm like, oh man, this is awesome. I don't have to worry about this blinding... sorry, I missed that. What was Cloud Darkwood?
That is Terra sleeping at the tomb, and we got Vargas in the apple toilets here. So this is a pretty easy fight, and we're going to get a pretty nice reward with Terra.
Yeah, that'll definitely be nice, because Terra's check, for anybody who might not know, has there's a free check that she has that has a lot of chests attached to it. Things that, I mean, you run into a lot of things. The chances of getting something good are pretty high, in my opinion. You're at least going to walk away with one high tier 9 times out of 10. From my experience, I always walk out of a high tier with that check.
Yeah, there are, I believe, either 13 or 14 chests in that first room, so it's pretty high probability. And that was Blitz Lock there at the Floating Continent first spot. Fitz decides not to include him in the party because he's got his 2 Ragnarok users and his Atma weapon user and Strago. Knowing that Ragnaroks are for sale, though, and that Locke could naturally equip them, I might have swapped him in unless he really wants to lean into Strago's magic for this seed. So interesting to see the party construction there. And that is Terra with tools and 47 magic power. Holy cow.
Wow.
That's insane.
Yeah, that could definitely put Cloud Darkwood back into the game, so to speak. I know that one free Fitz kind of has the numbers advantage, at least right now, but Nobody War and Cloud Darkwood are not going to make it easy for Fitz. And, with that Terra, depending on what he gets in that free check, which he's going to right about now,
the Funk Show brother.
It could.
Anyway, sorry.
No, that was good. But it could dip the scales in Cloud Darkwood's favor a little bit here, depending on what he gets.
Yeah, so one free Fitz is on his way to the second part of the Floating Continent. This is Esper item only, so this cannot reward a character. Let's see, anything in these chests? Nothing stood out to me.
No,
couple of empty ones too.
Couple empties, a coin toss, an elixir. There was one that had 5-digit money in it, but that's about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, rods are usable anytime throughout the seed because they are based on your magic power, right? So, and it is Ultros
going to be able to pierce.
So this is unfortunately, it's an easy fight, yes, but it unfortunately does not give Fitz any XP or MP. Although at this point in the race, right, he's gone through Burning House and gone through the first part of the Floating Continent. Maybe it's not so bad to see a boss that doesn't give XP.
Yeah, it's not so bad, especially if it's only like this one, right? I think every other boss is going to give experience, and then a fast check here might be what he wants. Something to just get the boss out of the way. Let me see if the check is dead or alive, and then I'm going to go to the third check, which I know is live. And it's live. It's a Magicite, so every check in the Floating Continent is live.
Ooh, strength +2 on that Esper. And with 3 big sword swingers, that's really nice to see.
Yeah, and it also gives you X Zone, which is definitely good with taking care of a couple of bosses and Kefka later too, giving you some options, some utility. Utility is definitely always good when it comes to a race.
Yeah, so I know it's not part of Ultros League, but I am part of what's called the Living Seed in our Discord, and it's where you can choose flag settings each week. And one of the new things with our new website, ff6worldscollide.com, by the way, is that you can actually exclude certain types of magic from being learned. So I decided this week to say, hey, all those gray spells, the status spells, the utility spells, they're not going to be on any Espers. So it'll be interesting to see how that actually plays in a seed.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, you could do that with black magic or the attack magic or the white magic or the healing magic as well. So if you go to the website, those are some of the options you could do for what Espers can and can't teach you.
So a lot of customization in the website and the way you can do flag sets now. It's really cool. I just like how you can change just basically everything about a seed just to see if it's more challenging or make it more of a jet seed, like fast seed and things like that. I do want to mention, just before I forget, Cloud Darkwood's Terra's free check was Unicorn.
Yep, so, oh, wow.
And
Fire 3, Bolt 3. Yeah, very nice. We did see on the way up to Nobody War going Kefka at Narsh. This is an imp, so it's not a character. It's either an Esper or an item. Rutro. Oof. Okay.
Oof. Level check.
That's Denzel Washington grabbing onto his chest. Everything is okay. But we did see Celeste in Umaro's cave. So if we find Umaro, we know where another character Celeste is.
It looks like one free Fitz. Oh no, one free Fitz had Pearl for Doomgaze, but Doom shut him down really quick. This might not be a so cut and dry fight like he would want it to be.
Yeah, Doomgaze is super annoying. He has lots of HP, He also has very high both physical and magical defense. This flare is going to be very welcome here because it'll do a lot more damage than the sword swings will. He is weak to Pearl and somewhat to fire, as Nobody War decided that he wanted to hop into the conga line here of Kefka and Narsh. And speaking of conga line, Darkwood is in the Zozo Tower here. I hope he bought some warp stones.
I think he does have a couple on hand. I don't usually do this.
I think we learned the warp spell as well. And oh, this is interesting.
This could be dangerous.
Yeah. This could be really bad.
Very dangerous. Oh no.
Yeah, so now that we have the Moogle defense check in the game with our new Ultros League settings, the boss, Marshall, is mixed in with the rest of the bosses in Worlds Collide. And we decided, instead of giving him the lowly Lobos as his party members, you can get random enemies that are his quote-unquote guards. And this is probably one of the worst of them here with Skycap. Retainers are also bad too, as well.
Yeah, outsiders are also not welcome. Those guys throw weapons at you and it hurts.
Yeah, one warp stone to Cloud Darkwood's name. Actually, I think we learned the warp spell on one of our early Espers as well, so it's not that big of a deal. That is his 5th Esper, though. There, Madeline at the top of Zozo Tower, and let's see what Fitz gets after defeating the last part of the floating continent. It's another Imp, so that's another Esper for him. So 1 character, 2 Espers on the floating continent. I'd say that's a pretty good haul there.
Yeah, not too bad at all. Yeah, so anytime you do a check that involves 3 things that you can get 3 Magicite from, when they're all live, it just feels good. Because it feels like it was the right choice. Like Celeste's Magitech Factory also feels like that sometimes when you get all Magicite or 2 Magicite in a character and you're just like, yes, feels good that I made that choice.
Alright, so that is Kieran for Nobody War, and here, as you mentioned, is the warp back from Kefka at Narsh. This makes this check much more palpable than it used to be. Unfortunately, Nobody War has not found Terry yet, because that could have been a very nice combo to do the Welk check and then up to Kefka at Narsh. Cloud Darkwood is in World of Balance Narsh, so we'll see if he does that combo there. Meanwhile, One Free Fitz is leaning into Locke's check at the South Figaro Cave, so it'll probably be a while before either Nobody War or Cloud Darkwood gets to Locke, because you have to get to Shadow first, which is in the Burning House, and then you have to get to Locke after that. So we'll see what comes out of here.
Yeah, this is a very tight race so far. I mean, none of the runners are very far from each other. It looks like Welk is in Locke's check with the tunnel armor check.
Yep.
So that's going to be a really fast boss fight, and then we'll see if that's anything. But yeah, it's pretty tight. I do like Fitz's chances more because Locke's checks are less involved and really fast. But I do like where Cloud Darkwood is sitting too, in terms of Terra and having that Esper that has the Bolt 3 and the Fire 3. That's going to be able to take down quite a few bosses and dealing with Tier 1 at Kefka pretty quick. So it's still pretty close. It's kind of hard to tell.
Yeah, so unfortunately that's a Force Armor for Fitz. I don't think he's gone to World of Ruin Narsh yet, which is usually the first spot that most runners go as soon as they get Locke. Although it's kind of late in the seed to uncurse the shield, right? Even if the number was like 4 or 5, it's still pretty late to be doing that.
Yeah, but if you get the minimum of 3, that could be worth it because you're gonna at least do 3 checks by the time you're done, and you've been picking up ribbons left and right. I'm pretty sure he has a ribbon on him, so it wouldn't even be that much of a hindrance to even put it on a character because he still has that ribbon in his pocket.
Yeah, we'll see where Nobody War decides to go. I think he's got to either go to Burning House or Daryl's Tomb for his 4th character, right, at this point. He's still doing some checks, though. He's still plodding along. This is a curious choice here, though, to go for a check with Search the Skies that is only an Esper or an item reward when he still has 3 characters. But this is an Esper for him, thankfully. And it is not anything for Cloud Darkwood, just another Atma weapon.
I don't mind it so much in terms of checking in the sky, so long as you have the damage to be able to deal with whatever's up there. I mean, it's a fast check, and you're gonna do it anyway.
Right.
So I mean, as long as you have what you need to be able to kill this thing fast. Um, but yeah, I think I would have probably just thrown the pearl rod and be done with it.
Yeah, I think maybe the person that he wanted to have the pearl rod thrown got imped. So that's never fun when you have to do that sort of recovery. One Free Fitz, meanwhile, is continuing in World of Ruin Narsh. He's going to go and find himself a dragon and potentially an Esper at the Tritok spot. Cloud Darkwood walking out of Narsh, seeing that it is not a character at Kefka at Narsh. This is also a curious decision here.
Yeah, I think honestly it would have been just faster to do the check and have the teleport down, and then at least you would have known what was there. I mean, I'm not even sure if it was a dead check or not. I can't remember.
It was an Esper.
Okay, well then that would have definitely helped him regardless.
Yeah.
I would have put him at 4 and 6, so I think that was a bit of a misstep.
Well, here's the thing about Kefka at Narsh, right? You do have to split your party into 2 different parties, and with less than 5 characters, he was going to have to do the boss with only 3 instead of 4. So you don't get XP for the character that's not in the fight. So I can understand being like, hey, I'll come back here when I've got 5 maybe, knowing that it's, not a character. Here's a peek that we can do. Fanatic's Tower. This is some new information for us. Oh my god.
Magic power +2.
That was from Zozo Tower, so that's a nice Esper there.
And a magic power +1 as well, so he's got a lot of magic on his side here.
It is an imp.
Not worth it. It's a long check to be doing something like that. I think, yeah, he's gonna have to start. Oh, he's gonna, I guess, peak terrorist check.
I did not see what the reward was from that dragon, unfortunately, but Fitz took it down pretty easily. The red dragon, not a problem when we have access to ice magic.
Narapa is also going to be a very easy boss to be killing here. He is susceptible to instant death as long as you don't hit his... Oh, it's Cyan!
Yeah!
I love how Cloud Darkwood is still trucking along in his own way. He's going a different way than Fitz. He might not have the numbers that Fitz does, but he's getting different characters, which is cool.
Well, this is one of the things I love about Worlds Collide, is that it's not a key item hunt where you have to get certain items in every single seed. It's really just get your characters, get your Espers, and go beat Kefka. So it's really a nice thing to do.
Yeah, it makes it really a fun watch too, because there's always a variety. Like you'll see there are going to be some racers that are safe and some racers that are super fast and aggressive and taking a lot of risks. And just the difference of playstyle is there's not one really better than the other. It's just who RNG favors at the moment in time, basically.
Yeah, unfortunately, it was not an Esper there for Fitz at the Tritok Cliff either. So the dragons in Worlds Collide will drop their vanilla drop, which in this case for the red dragon it is a Strato sword, but they also drop another high tier item, and that's what I missed, is what the random high tier item was. Kirksey does point out in the chat, getting Cyan will mean that our sword tech user, I think is Setzer, if we go do the dream, right, we will get all of our sword techs. So that's a really nice piece of utility for Setzer, for Cloud Darkwood, as he'll have access to all of the sword techs. And it's a nice check where you only have to defeat 2 bosses for 3 potential rewards.
Yeah, it's definitely something that's going to favor Cloud Darkwood to do, for sure, in terms of his routing. There goes Rexol, so Cyan is secured. I'm wondering what's... Oh yeah, Cyan had Dance. Oh, not Dance, Slot, I think, wasn't it?
Well, either way, Cyan is not going to be in the party because of his command. It'll be, for a different reason there, and we'll see. Yeah, he's getting thrown out right away. Cloud Darkwood is happy with his party comp. And we've got...
Or Cyan.
We've got, very different very different squads here, right? We've got a Cyan Terra for Cloud Darkwood, and we have a Lock Shadow for 1 free fit. So this is really nice. Genji Armor was the reward. Yikes. So I guess it's an armor?
It looks like Nobody War also obtained Terra as well. So now he's kind of making his little comeback here. Depending on his routing, he could pump those numbers up quickly and get in there.
Yeah, I just saw him pick up a ton of warp stones, so that to me tells me, yeah, I'm going right to Zozo Tower. So this is going to be a good choice for Nobody War as well. He will get that Esper with Fire 3, Bolt 2, and Magic Power +2. So that'll be nice for his party. 1 free fits, meanwhile, gets Golem. That is huge. From Cave in the Veldt. So there's our actual calmness protection. None of this Palador or Phantom nonsense.
Yeah, don't need to take a chance. Don't need to do the math. Just throw Golem on and go. There's Ragnarok in the store.
Yeah, so getting spit back out at the Ragnarok store, but picking up the fire rods instead. So I think that's what Estrago is doing, is just chucking rods at things. Meanwhile, we've got... Is this Magimaster? No, it's not. Thank goodness. Although we have Berserk, so it wouldn't have been that big of a deal, right?
Yeah, it's you definitely have the answers on Cloud Darkwood's team there. He wouldn't have had to worry regardless. That was just Magimaster Jr. though, so nice little easy fight, and we'll see how Doma Dream is able to treat Cloud Darkwood.
Magimaster at home.
Well, he did get him at the site.
It was the Magicite, okay. I completely
missed it. It was Toronto.
Very good. And we'll see here that's another Merchant, so that's another Magicite for Cloud Darkwood. So he's at least going to get 2 out of this check, which is really nice.
I don't think that's guaranteed, though, is it? The second one or the third one?
Yeah, so Dream 1 and 3 are either Esper item. Dream 2 is character or Esper. So
okay.
Since
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, so since it's a Merchant sprite, we know that this has got to be an Esper here. We are on all sorts of social media platforms. On YouTube, youtube.com/FF6worldscollide is our YouTube channel. That's where we upload races and fun tutorial videos and excellent content there. At FF6_WC on Twitter, and then FF6WC on Instagram, of which I think Nobody War is the main Instagram person, so go give our Insta a follow as we get an Ultros without tentacles here.
It looks like Fitz is also going to be finding Terra, which will put him at his 6 characters that he needs, so all he'll need to do really is obtain 1 more Magicite. So he is getting closer to Go mode.
Yeah, so let's talk about Go mode. At 6 characters and 9 Espers, we do unlock Final Kefka. There is an option to do a shortcut to bypass a lot of the walking inside of Kefka's tower if we get either 9 characters or 12 Espers. So for you, Squack, do you tend to try to go for skip if you're, let's say, at 7 or 8 characters or 10 or 11 Espers? Are you hoping for skip, or at that point are you like, man, I just want to get my stuff and go?
I think it really all depends on the kind of seed I'm having and my frustration level. But normally I would say a rule of thumb for any racer should be, if the seed is handing you more of one thing, it's probably faster for you to try to finish that one thing to get the skip. Yep. That way you have got the extra levels and are going into the statues immediately. That way you might actually have a level advantage on your opponents, like on your other racers, and you'll be able to kill Kefka faster than them because you are stronger in levels. Yeah. So I think that's always a good. It's like slingshotting your way out there. Yeah, sure, you're not in Kefka's tower as soon as everybody else, but you've potentially slungshot yourself right into Kefka, and he's in more danger from you than your other opponents.
Is the past tense of slingshot slungshot? I didn't know that. That's a new word for me.
That's the
That's what it is.
That's from Squack's dictionary of the North American language. I don't know what to say.
Unfortunately, Fitz is gonna have the kid say, "Please don't take Cyan away from me," and he's gonna go, "All right, fine, sure, kid." Meanwhile, Cloud Darkwood is gonna get his second Esper from the Dream. We'll see if there's a third on the throne. The only problem with Skip is that, obviously, since you're getting more pieces of progression, that means that the enemies that you're fighting in Kefka's Tower are going to be more difficult. So that's sort of the one caveat. And ultimately, Skip only saves around 5 to 7 minutes or so, depending upon how bad the boss is at the Infernal spot. And that's 2 pieces of Magicite there for Cloud Darkwood. So he got 3 of them from the Cyan stream. Great check for him.
Wow, huge. It's definitely putting him right behind Fitz, which is exactly what he wanted. Fitz is still trying to find a Magicite somewhere. Did we see Waterfall? Isn't that a dead check?
This is a dead check. So Fitz avoided some of the dead checks that our runners ran into earlier in the seed. So now is the time when I guess that catches up to him, where he will be getting some of the dead checks that we had been missing.
And this is a rough boss
on.
to be fighting this late in the game, too. This is going to take him a little bit of time to actually get rid of. Oh, or maybe not. Actually, I just saw 5k, almost 5k damage. Never mind. It might not be that bad, but...
And there's a different 6 character for Cloud Darkwood. That's Edgar.
Oh, wow. Cloud Darkwood coming from behind so fast and obtaining what he needs so quickly. He could check Edgar's free check in the World of Balance in the castle. And that's a Magicite that puts him in go mode. I'm not sure how much he would want to actually go in to go mode now with his levels. But all he would have to do is fight a dragon. And I think he'd be okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily, other than the throne, I wouldn't be on the Edgar bandwagon at this point. His other checks, other than the throne, definitely take some time here. And speaking of taking some time, Fitz is slowly floating down the river to his Genji helmet, or whatever the hell this is.
Yeah, I think it's Genji armor, wasn't it?
Behemoth suit.
Oh, Behemoth. We were both wrong.
And meanwhile, Nobody War gets his Atma weapon from the Welk spot. And yeah, we'll see where Cloud Darkwood turns to. Checking his tracker, oh no, this is Nobody War's tracker. Sorry, where are we? He has not done the Search the Sky spot yet, so maybe that's what he does here for his Esper and his go mode. So I like saving these type of checks for, you know, when I get to my 6 characters or I get to my 9 Espers, right? I like to do my checks that I know will reward certain things here, and this is a good heads-up play in his routing here from Cloud Darkwood. Meanwhile, we're getting a river ride from Nobody War, and one free Fitz is heading into Imperial Camp, which, by the way, is another dead check. So that means Cloud Darkwood is actually going to leapfrog into the lead here.
And Cloud Darkwood was able to get a X Zone off and send Phantom Train to the Shadow Realm, Jimbo.
Yeah, I love using instant death strats on bosses, and that is Final Kefka unlock complete there from Cloud Darkwood. Very nice.
Is he going right for Kefka's Tower? I would do a dragon. Whew.
Well, we'll see what his levels look like.
They are not good. they are low.
31.
31.
Yeah.
31 is like your bare minimum of entering there. Like you want to see, like he has to have some really smart plays, some really good strategies, and weight tricking out the wazoo. But if he pulls it off, I'll be thoroughly impressed.
Yeah, he's into the tower at about 58 minutes or so. That's a really nice time. Anytime you're into KT under an hour, you're feeling good about yourself here. What I like to do sometimes if I'm feeling underleveled going into Kefka's Tower is I will overload party number 3. I'll take out Inferno and then take out the dragon to get extra levels and then warp back out and then redo my party and come back in the the entrance again, right? You do lose a little bit of time double walking on the third path, but it's certainly worth it to get levels on your entire party on both the Inferno spot and the dragon there. And it also allows you to defeat the Inferno spot that much faster, because instead of only 2 party members, you're using all 4.
Well, and here's the dangerous thing about doing what Cloud Darkwood is doing here without kind of gaining some levels too. I just forgot my train of thought. Again.
Yeah, so levels are the most important thing in Worlds Collide, right? It doesn't matter what your offense looks like. If you can out-level your enemies, then that's really what matters here. Especially since he's got somebody with an Atma weapon, which is solely based on your level. He's got some good, powerful spells, so maybe he thinks his offense is good enough that he can do it, with having a bit lower of levels. So we'll see how this pays off for him here.
Yeah, sure. I can't believe I forgot again what I was gonna say, and it was like really profound, and I just completely forgot it.
All right, well, I did it the first time. I couldn't do it the second time. My magic only works every once in a while.
It's just, and I guess just in general that it's dangerous to go in there at such a low level. Oh, sorry. Now I remember what I was gonna say. One of the things that the runners have to realize too is, for the most part, none of them have run into any really dangerous boss yet. So in terms of Nobody War or Fitz, I can't remember which. No, I think it was Fitz.
We saw Goddess on whatchamacallit, on the Phantom Train.
Phantom Train, yeah. And you saw Doomgaze in the air, but you still have Magimaster, Doom, Spicy Chicken. Like, you have...
Yeah, there's a ton of all those other secondary bosses, too.
Yeah, and if you're going in at low levels, those things are going to destroy you. It is going to be very, very rough for you in those statue situations. But if you're able to get some of the easier ones, like Leader, I don't think we've seen yet.
Right.
Things like that, you might have a good shot. I mean, Flame Eater hasn't been seen yet.
He was in whatchamacallit.
Oh, was he?
He was in Dream. Not Dream, Fallen Continent. And One Free Fitz chooses yet another dead check Atma weapon. Oh my god, that's 3 in a row for him. At this point, I'm going to the auction house.
Yeah, I'm like, I've got a gem box to sell. I'm gonna sell that gem box for my victory.
Yeah. But as you mentioned earlier when we were talking way before the broadcast started, this Kefka at Narsh play is much more palpable now that you warp back down, and this for Fitz will be his go mode here. Senor Behemoth also could be
so hard.
Yeah. Senor Behemoth also is not a fun boss to run into when you only have a party of 2, because his non-elemental scaling will cause some havoc with things like Hyperdrive and Ultima if you get high enough. But for Nobody War, this is not going to be a problem.
Yeah, Nobody War having just a little bit of a hard time just trying to find those characters to be able to close the gap a little bit on these other 2 racers. I think that I'm very interested to see if Cloud Darkwood's going to pull this off, because he's definitely, if he pulls it off, I'm going to be very, very impressed. I've never seen somebody actually go in there so confidently. Like, yeah, we're in go mode, so I'm just going to go.
Oh my god.
Oh, the dead check.
Wow. That is horrific.
Going through Leet River and having it be a dead check is the worst feeling.
Yeah.
You're going into a bad check. You know you're going into one of the longest ones, and it being dead is like, ugh.
Yeah. I mean, it is nice for the levels, but at this point, you want to see some progression, right? I have some code in my own fork of Worlds Collide that takes some of the longer checks and makes them guaranteed progression. Leet River is one of them, so it'll be interesting. Maybe I'll present it one day and be like, so guys and girls and everybody, what do we think about, making certain checks never be dead, like Leet River and Opera House and Burning House and some of the really bad ones.
Yeah,
anyway,
Yeah, it can be rough, but I think also it's the risk is also what makes it entertaining. If you take the risk away, it might not be so good. It really all depends on what the community really says about that, but I think it can
Right.
go either way.
Yeah, and obviously it'd be an optional flag. And here you go. Oh my god. This is the worst spot to see this here.
And like I said, we haven't seen Poltergeist yet, and this is what is so dangerous about not seeing Poltergeist.
Well,
Yeah,
we know what to do, everybody. Spicy chickens. Do we have stop anywhere? Because Poltergeist is susceptible to stop.
I don't think the people he has in his party actually have the stop. He also doesn't have any fire elemental protection at all. So
yeah, this is going to be a wipe here, and
yeah,
that's a time
this is a
loss.
wipe.
So, one thing Cloud Darkwood does have is he has access to Sword Tech 6, which is Stunner. And Stunner has a chance to proc Stop. So, if he gets back to that fight, I want to see if he realizes that that is the case, where you could use Sword Tech 6 as like a pseudo stop command. So if you're ever in this situation where you're going up against Poltergeist and you have all the Sword Techs, use Sword Tech 6.
Yeah, I'm not even sure if he even knows that's the case, or if he can do that.
It's super niche strat. Like,
yeah,
I've been burnt. The only, in Worlds Collide, there's only one way to learn lessons, and that's the hard way. So
yeah.
I've learned a lot of lessons the hard way. So this is from somebody who's been there and lost races because of things like that,
You'd think I'd learned my lesson about not saving, but that'll never happen. I'm never saving.
Yep,
You can't make me.
Listen, I tell everybody, save after every check and only menu when you save. Those are the two rules. And sometimes when you're feeling behind, you don't save after every check because you're like, gotta go, and that's what happens.
Yeah, for me, I always forget to save, or I just don't save at all. It comes to trying to grind the PB/world record thing. It turns me into the most reckless runner I think Worlds Collide has to offer. and when
I think you mean entertaining.
That too, I guess. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where there are some lessons that you'll never learn. For me, it's saving. I'm never gonna save. You can't make me.
So one thing that Cloud Darkwood could do here is he knows that Poltergeist is in the middle statue spot, as that is Cyan for Nobody War as well. He knows that Poltergeist is in the middle statue spot. What he can do is, instead of doing the middle statue first and potentially doing all this time loss, he could do one of the side statues and hope that it's a better boss and get the save point there, so he doesn't have to do all this walking back and forth through the tower. By the way, Arusta with a prime sub to FS6WC. Thank you so much, Arusta, for your generosity. We will be donating our Twitch sub money during the Randomania marathon that is at the end of March, and it's going towards the NAMI organization. So thank you for your generosity there.
Yes, thank you very much.
All right.
And let's see what happens here. I mean, it looks like Cloud Darkwood's going to get a second chance of maybe starting at a different boss, maybe trying a different boss first instead of going for Poltergeist. But
yeah, that's what I would do.
He might have to shift around his elemental shields.
You can't really get much worse of a boss at this point than Poltergeist. So hope that one of the two side bosses is a bit easier. This way you get your save point. You don't have to do all this walking all over again. So we'll see what he decides to do. And yeah, he's taken the side statue. So I really like this play. This is really good recovery strats here from Cloud Darkwood. And that's all of a sudden Nobody War has got his 6 characters now too. So we'll see if he does any of Edgar's checks, because he got Edgar way before Cloud Darkwood did.
Looks like Fitz is going to be able to handle tomorrow, no problem. So he'll probably get through, especially with the proc, yeah. So, I think he'll be okay. Oh no.
This is not a great fight either.
What do you have as options here? It doesn't look like his party has many options.
Yeah. The thing with... I'm sorry, yes. So
That was it.
the thing with the Three Stooges is you have to kill one of them quickly. Because if you do not, then they will cast Delta Hit, which will stone one of your characters. And when you only have a 2-person party, that recovery period sometimes becomes insurmountable against a boss that has 3 different parts. Thankfully, one of them's down right away. So, really nice focusing on the Stooge that needs to get dead.
You can now instant kill Larry, I think it is. Or I don't know if it's Larry or Mo.
That's
Might be
Larry,
Mo.
yes. Larry will also run away sometimes if he's left by himself. So that's why we're taking on Mo first. And we'll see if we can insta-kill Larry later.
Spreading out the Fire 3 is not a bad idea, too, because he hates Fire 3. I think those two are pretty stacked in terms of defenses, in terms of magical defense, so I think we're okay. Storm's gonna hurt.
Yeah, let's hope he survives this, please. Okay. He's got a nice shield on Terra. That's good.
Oh, reflect? Oh, okay, he didn't cast anything good.
Yeah, we do have X Zone, which is really nice there.
Yep, that'll take care of Larry, no problem. And he'll be moving on. He could save there. He could sleeping bag or whatever he has there. Put himself into position, and then I think Cloud Darkwood's best play is to try to like rework some of his gear so that he can not die to Poltergeist.
Yeah.
Be interesting to see how Fitz handles that too, because I'm sure Fitz will run right into Guardian as well.
Yeah, so
And,
really nice heads-up play there from Cloud Darkwood to know, hey, I don't know what I'm going to do with Poltergeist yet, but at least let me get this save point. And Nobody War checked the throne. It wasn't an Esper according to his tracker or a character, so maybe he left it there or it was an item. And we've seen a lot of dead checks this seed here.
Yeah, I had a feeling it was going to be a bit of a slog, especially with how we weren't seeing a lot of... Setzer is proccing a lot for Fitz. Every time I'm looking over, it's always a flare proc from Setzer. I'm like,
Dear
oh,
Lord, another statue boss.
And man, is Squack calling it tonight, or is Squack calling it tonight?
The
We
curse
haven't
of
seen Doom. We haven't seen Poltergeist. Hey, look, it's Doom and Poltergeist.
Yuck. So, confirmation from chat. Thank you, Arista. Valiant Knife was on the Figure-Out Throne.
That's actually pretty good. I wouldn't mind a Valiant Knife. I'm a fan.
Yeah, I don't, we haven't seen Katana Soul yet, though, have we? We've checked a lot of Monster in a Box chests, too, so...
I'm willing to bet that Katana Soul is somewhere.
Probably in the Ancient Castle. I don't know, because...
Oh, you're right, Ancient Castle.
I think we checked all of Sabin's Monster in a Boxes.
I think we've checked all of them, because we've checked the Floating Continent. We've checked Daryl's Tomb. We've checked Narsh. And the Velt Cave, yeah.
So yeah, it's either Umaro or Ancient Castle at this point. And Fitz gets past Poltergeist. Very nice. His Shadow, I think, had a Flame Shield, so that's really good. Because he had an Atma weapon, so that was perfect for him.
Yeah, so that's definitely going to put him in a good spot here. I wonder, he's also at level 42. Like, this is what I was saying before. Yeah, he didn't go into, Kefka's tower first or anything, but he had those dead checks, and he is super far ahead now in terms of level. So he's going to make short work.
Oh my god. One-shotting Ultros 2 there to the tune of 9,000 damage. Yeah.
Saiyan fell down.
Yeah, so, of course, as if there wasn't enough Genji garbage in this seed, Genji helmet was in the validation chest. And Nobody War is going to be in go mode as well after this trip into the dream, because he's going to get 2 Espers here. So
I think Cloud Darkwood forgot that when Doom goes into that mode, spells bounce off of him.
Yeah.
So he's probably going to start throwing rods.
Yeah, he does get the reflect status in phase 2 and the image status.
There we go.
Nice heads up play though. Very nice heads up play.
That was very good. Yeah, get rid of that. And now his main focus is going to have to be on what he's going to deal with about Poltergeist.
The spicy chicken.
And if Fitz is finished with that, I mean, we'll see how Fitz deals with the Stooges gang here, but he's got so many big swords and so many characters that can just rip down damage no problem. I wonder if he's even going to have any issue.
Yeah, here comes... Okay, we get the flare proc, though. I was going to say, here's the issue. Now that Locke is dead, he has to kill a Stooge very fast, because after 3 turns, they come out with Delta Hit. And thankfully, he does take one of them down there before Delta Hit ends this fight, before it really gets going. So, nicely done there, and we'll see how he decides to continue on with this.
It looks like he has decided to reform his Flame Shields and Ice Shields for Poltergeist.
Makes sense.
Which is a really good play.
And an Atma weapon on Sabin too, yeah. So Poltergeist, as I mentioned, he has very high physical defense. So Atma weapon will cut right through that, which is great. And the Flame Shield means that we're going to keep our HP pretty high. As One Free Fits had to use an X potion there to keep his HP up, because Larry was bullying him slightly. There we go. Much better.
Looks like the next hit will probably take Larry out.
Or Larry's going to run away.
No,
not running away today.
Didn't give him a chance.
Not running away today.
No mercy. Alright, so it looks like he's just going to start throwing out everything that he possibly can to take out Poltergeist. This is going to be a really close run between Cloud and Fitz.
Yeah. Derek Grin says, I love how Larry is just like middle finger. Honestly, the sprites of the Stooges look like they're giving the middle finger. All of them do. It's so odd. I don't know what they're supposed to be doing, but that's what it looks like they're doing. Oh no, Quasar. Okay, that was...
Fitz definitely has an edge. After what just replying to what Kurgzy said. Fitz definitely does have an edge in terms of how much damage he is doing in his levels. But never say die. There's with Cloud taking out Poltergeist right now.
Oh no!
It looks like there's gonna be it's still gonna be a very, very close race. Depends on the RNG of the fights.
This is spicy. He's gonna use a fire rod on Strago, who's frozen. Hopefully Strago can absorb that. Very nice.
That is really spicy.
That is a huge heads-up play, because unfortunately Terra is like the weak character there, so his actual character got frozen. So really cool play there from Fitz. You never usually see your party throwing rods at themselves.
But yeah, I can definitely get behind that play.
Go give our runners a follow, by the way, as they are now all entering Kefka's Tower, or in Kefka's Tower.
Looks like there's going to be I think Doom is going to enter that phase where he's going to put Reflect on shortly.
Yeah, so I noticed that Fitz saved his Pearl Rod, so I think he saved the Pearl Rod for this phase, right? Because you can't reflect the rod. I'm surprised he hasn't thrown the Super Ball yet from Terra. I mean, who knows how much damage it'll do, but it's better than Terra just sitting there doing nothing, I think.
Cloud is actually at an okay amount of levels now that he's finished all the boss fights. He is close to 40. He's at 36-ish.
Yeah, that's on his party that fought 3 bosses, though. The side parties are probably in their low 30s still.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, 32 for Terra. But you know what? I still say that's okay. As long as he plays it smart, he'll be able to... the lead that he has right now starting Kefka might just be enough of what he needs. But it really all depends. This is going to be a really close game. This is exciting. This is a very good race from all the Potion A people here.
All right, and using Arrow, very nice. Knowing that lures cannot be reflected. Good heads-up backup strategy there from One Free Fits. Taking out Doom, and he will be stepping up to the plate against Final Kefka before you know it. Probably about a minute time difference here, Squack.
Yeah, not too much. Like I said, this is going to be a very interesting, right to the edge of your seat run between the two, at least in Cloud and Fitz. But if both of them hiccup, or if both of them have any kind of thing that stalls them, Nobody War is at a good amount of levels right now.
Oh,
so
yeah.
he can always slingshot himself into
And
a
has
lead
Merton.
if Kefka is not if they don't deal with Kefka in a timely fashion or if they have bad RNG. I mean, all it takes is one you know uh, Panther claw to turn you into a zombie and kill your team
Yep.
to slow you right down in tier 2. So nothing is over until it's over.
Yeah, so question in the chat about advantages. So I know that One Free Fits has Golem for calmness protection, whereas Cloud Darkwood is going to have to rely on either Palador or Phantom for calmness protection. We did have access to Mute on an Esper pretty early on in the seed, and we've got access to Instant Death. So I think Tier 3 is where the difference is going to be here in this particular fight, especially knowing that One Free Fits' levels are higher than those of Cloud Darkwood. They're starting about they're about 65 seconds apart, so we'll see if the levels can catch up. Wow, Saban's got a lot of HP.
and Cloud Darkwood, also just to keep people informed, has landed his instant hit on the long arm right at the start. So now all he's doing is focusing on the head with fire 3s, which is super easy. And if he's able to do that, then he'll be able to kind of stabilize and finish off tier 1 while Fitz is just starting tier 1. And I think he missed his instant death once already. So this is the second attempt, and he gets it.
Slightly better RNG there for Cloud Darkwood. And One Free Fits can burn his Phantom on this tier, or he could decide to save it for tier 2 against 10 hits. So that's other potential ways that One Free Fits can catch up, besides just pure leveling.
And again, this is where Fitz can also take the lead really easily, so long as he gets an average amount of RNG by just doing more damage than Cloud Darkwood is currently doing. Cloud has to be very careful with what he's doing because a punch can kill one of his frontliners. But in terms of Fitz, he can play a bit more recklessly because he just has a higher HP pool and a higher damage pool than Cloud does. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, so a couple Ragnaroks and an Atma weapon is what Fitz has got for his damage, and that is tier 1 dead for both of our runners.
Oh my god!
Basically in sync. So from here on out, it's down to execution, right? So this is amazing. 1 hour and 21 minutes into the seed, we're basically back where we started here.
This is beautiful. I love a race that's going this close. You know, Cloud did it just a little bit before, probably like 2 seconds before Fitz did, but you know, it really doesn't matter. It looks like a sword tech is going to be killing tools in the middle there.
Yep, so this will always hit the instant death, whereas, as we mentioned, Fitz has to use a spell, either X-Zone or he did use an Esper Summon already, so he's got to rely on X-Zone, and X-Zone is not 100%. 60% of the time it works every time, as they say.
Whirlwind is really good to have.
There's access to Mute, so that will nullify magic over there for Fitz. Let's see if Cloud Darkwood has done it yet. I don't know if he has Mute. Maybe I was wrong. I thought Mute was on one of the very early Espers there. So that's another advantage there.
Is confused.
That's another advantage there for Fitz, as he takes his second turn at instant death. Oh, and misses again. Oof.
Yeah, that could be really rough. Not being able to hit those instant deaths, because Tools is somebody that can cast. I think Tools casts Life 3, which will make the fight take even longer, which is why you want to take her out as fast as you possibly can.
Yeah, so X-Zone attempt number 3 for Fitz over here. And that time it finally works. Okay, very nice. So it looks like Cloud Darkwood is alternating between ice damage, the weakness of Tiger, and other stuff that he could hit against magic just to keep the fight manageable. Sometimes, though, I suggest if you don't have everything to deal with tier 2, take out one target first. It'll make the fight much more manageable because you're not getting hit 3 or 4 different times. You're only getting hit twice or 3 times on the enemy turns here.
Yeah, and it looks like Cloud is in a rough spot too, even though he's got Terra had fallen down during that last flare star. When you let magic continue to cast on you, it causes a lot of delay. I would almost say that you might want to kill magic first if you don't have any kind of mute or any way of getting him to stop casting spells, because he's going to put you to sleep and he's going to cast really high level spells on you that are going to do a lot of damage to the people who aren't wearing elemental shields.
Yep, so that's the Phantom cast from Fitz to make the 10 hits much faster. However, this is kind of dangerous because this means that any magical attacks will always hit, and there is a chance that magic will death counter with quarter. And if he does, then that means his entire party will be at 1/4 HP. So it remains to be seen what the RNGesus will give for Fitz here.
I'm actually confused as to Fitz's strategy here. He's in Phantom, but he is killing... he is attempting to kill magic first. Now, magic is muted. He could just kill hit first and...
No, hit was already dead.
Oh, hit was already dead. Okay, I was like, oh, I didn't see hit die. But yeah, here's the difference that levels makes. Fitz definitely had the health pool to be a bit more aggressive. He had the damage that was making things faster. And he also had the utility spells that he needed too. So this is what some free checks will do. So if it ever feels like things are not going too well with you because of all these dead checks, levels are always things that make a difference regardless.
Nobody War getting past the spicy chicken on his first try there. So that's very nice. He doesn't have to redo the walk. But speaking of redos, Cloud Darkwood, 2 men dead and one frozen is never a fun thing. So he's going to have to recover here, but I would suggest to him kill one of these parts first and then recover your party, because otherwise you're just going to be in that constant recovery loop. One free Fitz, meanwhile, on to tier 3. That is Girl dead with that hit, and now he just has to sit back and relax and wait for Golem to come out, because he does not have to count damage, unlike what Cloud Darkwood's going to have to do without that calmness protection.
Yeah, it looks like Merton's being cast too. And he gets a proc.
Lots of flare procs, as you mentioned, right?
Fitz is getting a proc like every 2 hits at least. It's insane the luck he's getting on those procs.
Yeah, so Cloud Darkwood recovering his party a little bit here and also doing damage against Magic, who is in the process of dying, right? Those are the death casts of Dispel. Here comes Meteo for Fitz, so now is the time to put on your calmness protection if you haven't done it already. And let's see if you get powered through.
Fitz already played Golem down.
Okay.
And miss on everything. The RNG is actually working out great for Fitz right now. Calmness, no big deal. We're moving on.
There it is. Very nicely done. And he's up to tier number 4 with 3 seconds left on that shadow countdown. That was getting a little close there.
Yeah, definitely getting close, but definitely worth being aggressive with, mainly because of just, like I said, his levels with hitting all those dead checks near the end actually was probably better because he was able to handle the dead checks fast, kill the bosses quickly, and gain that extra experience for going into Kefka. So although it might have frustrated Fitz trying to find that last Esper that he needed, that last Magicite, it paid off in the difference of time here. Cloud obviously trying to struggle the RNG, not working really well with him anymore, and Fitz didn't really need too much help with the RNG.
Yeah, so he's using Pearl Wind with Strago, but Strago only has 444 HP, so Pearl Wind will heal you for the amount of HP that your caster has, so it's going to take him several of those to actually get it to work. So what runners, I think, like to do is use, an elixir or an X potion on their Pearl Wind user so the healing can be better. It is Fallen 1, so we have a solution for our Sword Tech user, Setzer, is going to use Empowerer. We'll see what he does to heal up the rest of his party, because that Atma Weapon user is not going to be doing much damage. Sabin falls over and dies because he had Slip Hit on him. So this is a bit of a rough patch here for Fitz. Let's see if he can stabilize and recover. Because Fallen 1 will happen after your first turn with Kefka if you don't deal more than 30,000 damage against him. And we'll see how he recovers here.
Yeah, looking really dicey. You definitely don't want to get into a position where I'm sure he's trying to wait for a position where he goes into his goner phase to be able to burst out some damage, because you definitely don't want to risk when you have a high damage party like Fitz's. You don't want to have too much of a risk of having him counter with Ultima, because that can still really hurt regardless of how powerful your team actually is.
Yeah, Nobody War taking a reset there to the Stooges. As we mentioned, that was also not a very... The statue bosses were not fun this seed, as you mentioned. You know, charge up coming for Goner, and we're getting the shields out, boys and girls. So we'll see if this will do the trick. If not, Shadow and Sabin are surely not long for this world. And we're going to have to figure out what to do with them and get them back up after the charge for Goner here.
I think this will definitely be it. The ice shield's going to be the icing on the cake. He's already done enough damage, I'm pretty sure. Oh, maybe not. This will be enough damage.
Well, of course. It's been like it all seed. The
Yeah.
Pearl proc.
Setzer is just procking flares left, right, and center. Just does not care.
And there it is.
That's it.
The Bam Bam Crack Pow 129.31 is the official race time for our winner, One Free Fits. Congratulations. Under 130 in that seed. Very nicely done, especially with all of those dead checks at the end.
I am actually still impressed with how Cloud Darkwood is chugging along in this seed. I thought he'd be dead in tier 2, to be honest. I'm not saying that as like a negative thing. It was just, I don't think just in case you guys don't realize, it is very difficult to be getting through this at low 30s. Low 30s is insanely hard, especially when you have not the greatest defense in the world, and punches like in tier 1 hurt you and hurt you. It's just rough all around when you're dealing with something with low levels. So I'm actually just really impressed that he's even trucking along like this.
Yeah, unfortunately, Nobody War ran into Doom and decided, oh, wait, I can't do this with my party right now. BRB. And he's overloading the side statues here in order to take on both Doom and the Stooges. That's crazy, because I would have thought that Poltergeist would have given him the most problems, but it turns out it's the other side statues. So it really depends on what your party composition is. When you go into Kefka's Tower, you have to have a plan for what happens if I run into this boss at this spot. So it's very, very important to plan your party out in the correct manner.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really hoping, I'm really rooting for Cloud Darkwood to be able to finish this off in the state that he's in right now. I don't know if he's gonna be able to pull it off, but like I said, I'll be thoroughly impressed, regardless of if he won or not. It doesn't matter to me. I'm very impressed at the chutzpah that he had.
The nerve of this guy. So, just as an aside, One Free Fits' time currently puts him in first place for this week out of the other runners that have finished in his pod already. So he's going to at least be in first out of the 2 that have already entered and these 2 that are in the race. So that's going to give him a lot of points to catch up, because remember, from the standings, he was in 5th place going into this week. So really nice for Fitz here.
Very, very nice.
Alright, so Nobody War finally figures out what he wants to do with his party, and here comes Medio. There's only 2 seconds left with Mog. So he's going to have to do a lot of weight tricking to keep Mog around, and oh no, it's another Medio. Oh, and that hits everybody, and Mog is dead too. So at this point, oh, he's just going for it. I would have healed the boss and recovered.
Yeah,
he's going for it. Remember, he's got no calmness protection.
Oh, not like this, Cloud. Not like this.
Oh. Well, we said the lack of levels was going to be a problem, but yeah. Also, bad RNG is a problem. Medio is a pretty inaccurate spell, and to have it hit all 4 members of your party at the same time and get a double Medio cast is never any fun. And speaking of never any fun, welcome to One Free Fits, the winner of our race, 129.31. Awesome job on your time this week. Congratulations.
Thank you. It was a good one
Yeah,
for
so
once.
walk us through what your thoughts were when you loaded in to the seed. You get Sabin and Setzer and Strago, and you're like, oh, I got Sabin checks. These are really cool. And also, I got Strago, so I could do my favorite check, the Burning House.
I mean, I'm on the record about the burning house. I love it. I'll do it all
It
day.
definitely paid off for you in this seed because you were able to get Shadow from the Burning House and Locke from the Floating Continent, which our other two runners did not get. Our other runners had a different path through the seed that included the terror that you found at Barrel's tomb, and then Cyan a little bit later on, and Edgar. So you did have a really nice start, especially getting past those pretty brutal encounters in the Burning House. And then you ran into a lot of dead checks at the end of the seed. How frustrating was that for you?
Trying to be better about not getting frustrated about those because I can't control that. It just like happens, right? Like, so a few in a row where I was hunting for like that last Esper and it was just like, come on, am I going to have to go to the auction house to try to get this? But fortunately, I've eventually got it.
Yep. But those checks did allow you to gain the levels necessary in order for you to breeze past Cloud Darkwood, who actually started Kefka 1 minute before you did, and you, after being in sync after Tier 1, just blew ahead of him on Tier 2 and then beyond. So, even though there were some dead checks, they did give you sort of that level advantage, which definitely helped. As far as your Ultros League seed strategy, walk us through it a little bit. Do you like to get a lot of the free checks early and then go for some forced encounter checks? That seems to be what most of you did in this particular seed.
It depends a little bit on what I get in that initial looting and what kind of power I had this time, because there were rods for sale and I bought a few.
Yep.
And I had some earrings too. I felt pretty confident that I could take some free progression, go through an encounter check, and come out at or ahead. And then kind of sandwich from there, just like managing my scaling. I used to just blitz all the fast checks right away, but I found it to be a bummer at the end of the seed to only have slow checks available. So I try to work a couple of those in, like a burning house.
Eat your vegetables, right?
Yeah, or like floating continent I went to a little bit later, but still early-ish.
You're at 4 and 4. I think that was an appropriate time to go there.
So, and there was a Ragnarok for sale too. Like the offense got figured out pretty early.
Yeah. You were the only one that found those in the World of Ruin Thamasa, by the way. So that was very nice on you. So yeah, Squack, you got any questions for Fitz that I'm not thinking about?
I mean, I could barely keep track of my own thoughts as clear in my commentary tonight, but yeah, when you guys both, so when Cloud Darkwood went into the Kefka's Tower before you did, and you were still kind of trying to hunt down that last Magicite, I know that we were discussing just the level difference in your parties. Now, I was hoping that Cloud Darkwood would actually take on like an Opera House Dragon before he went in, because he was in low 30s, like 30, 31. But when you entered, you were at like high 30s, and you ended off in your 40s. So we were just kind of almost wondering if you agree, basically, with the sum of thoughts, basically, that levels sometimes make a faster Kefka's Tower than getting there first. Getting there first isn't always good.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. Like sometimes that person that goes in the lower level, they're able to kind of scrap it together and make that climb and not get caught from behind. But I think just watching a lot of these races, like I see it happen often enough that I really like have kind of turned over to like levels are king. I never turn them down. And I try to generally get ahead so I can really blast through that final fight. Because Final Kefka gets gross when it takes a long time. We had a community race recently. I think you were a part of that one that I rolled.
Yeah. Yep, that was on Saturday, right?
Yeah, that's like a perfect example of like why I kind of don't love to go in under level, but at the same time, if I would have unlocked the tower, not having those dead checks, I probably would have taken a quick dragon and then just went for it. So it's kind of a judgment call.
At all.
And I think that's just something that develops.
Cloud Darkwood's entire party is frozen.
Yeah, he's been having a rough go. He was actually handling himself really nicely with just being a low level. Like, he didn't even try to up his levels through dragons or anything on his way up. He just kind of went in at low levels. He was handling himself really, really well. And then all of a sudden it kind of just
spirals out of control.
The RNG went kaput on him, and that was it.
Yeah, it's like
the good news is he's not frozen. The bad news is his team is basically dead now.
Oh no.
So and Nobody War actually coming out of the tower again to reform against the Stooges. So tell us about the tower bosses. They were pretty rough, but I think you handled them pretty well. When you set up your party composition to do the 2-1-1, what were your thoughts as to what characters you wanted to put where?
Yeah, so when I looked at it, it was like I had Berserk, but only Shadow had it. So it was like, and they had the Atma weapon, so it was like, you need more experience to do more damage. So you're going in the 3 boss path. And that's, if Magimaster's there, like, we're good. If they're somewhere else, we'll figure something else out or warp out and, reform. And then I paired them with Strago. I don't know. Oh, because they had a magic power Esper, and it was like, all right, let's juice them up with some more levels. And then the other 2 are swinging Ragnarok, so it was like, all right, they're probably fine. They can do it on their own. Yeah, because there were still some nasty bosses in the pool. Just based on what I had seen, I was like, ooh, like everyone bad is still out there.
Yeah, you might hate to know that when I was discussing about the level difference and talking about Cloud Darkwood going into the Kefka's Tower so underleveled, I said, you have to think about the pool of bosses that you still haven't found yet. You still haven't found Poltergeist, and you still haven't found Doom, or Sky Armor, or Sky whatever it is. And lo and behold, the 2 stats responses. There was Poltergeist, there was Doom. I called it all.
Yep.
And that's ended up being slowed Cloud Darkwood down right to a crawl, giving you time to actually find that Magicite to get into Kefka's Tower.
Yeah, unfortunately, Cloud Darkwood is going to take his forfeit. Now, in Ultros League, you are allowed to have 2 of your weekly races sort of forgiven, if you will. If you're just, if you have to take that week off, or if you have a really bad time. And in this case, it is a really bad time. You could just say, you know what, I'm going to just not do this one. So this is certainly something that I tell runners is, if you're not having fun, then don't keep doing it. There's no point in continuing if you're not enjoying yourself. That's really what this is all about, is to just have fun and play games, Of course, it gets competitive because that's how we all are. But at the end of the day, if it's not fun, then it's just not fun.
I'm never competitive.
Okay,
never at all.
The world record holder. Yeah, it is like, there's only one winner of every race, so I think I'm kind of working on, like, after playing for a while, I think I'm good enough to, like, maybe win a race every now and then. So I have to try to manage my expectations and just, like, praise myself for a good race and just putting in the effort to do something fun. It's important. That's how I think people that have been doing this for longer than I have are still doing it, because, not being so outcome focused helps keep grinding. Although that's, again, some people can grind to the top and get that world record, and that's a way too. So it's also about kind of finding your thing within the super fun game.
Yeah. I mean, like I wanted to point out before I forget too, because I've been forgetting all night. Before we had started, I had just talked about how this Potion A pool of racers that you guys pulled together here for this stream, you guys have all like just. I can remember seeing posts of like your PBs, and their PBs were like 2 hours or something like that. And you guys have gotten to be consistent and very threatening runners. And like with Cloud Darkwood, he ended up getting a PB like recently, a sub 115 or whatever. And like you guys just keep pulling your PBs down more and more, but you guys have such a good grasp of the game, and just because you guys are on Potion A does not mean you guys are not really entertaining runners to watch and really, really threateningly good players. So I would just take that and hold it proudly, because like you guys, I have seen the growth, like this crazy growth of just skill, and it's just really fun to watch.
Yeah, I think that's a great sentiment. And for any newbies that might be watching too, like just keeping at it, keeping having fun. And like we have a lot of helpful people too. Like I know I've chatted with just several community members about strategy over time, and I'm looking forward to the when our next sort of new player tournament is, getting to be a mentor again. I learned a lot doing that even.
Oh yeah, for sure. When you have to explain to somebody else what you're doing, it helps you get to understand what you're doing that much better. In a weird way, right? So I tell this story of like in college, I had a buddy who never went to class ever and would only show up for the final. And what he did was he'd ask me to teach him everything in the class. And by me doing that, you're like, hey, why are you teaching this slacker all of the stuff for the final? And my response was always, well, one, he paid me in beer, so that was nice. But two, is that I would learn everything before the tests, because if you have to explain it to somebody else, you have to know your stuff too, right? So... and we are also joined here by Cloud Darkwood. Darkwood, congratulations on your PB recently that you posted in the Bragging Clips chat. This one unfortunately got a little bit away from you here.
It did.
I think it was the lower levels that you had on your party going into KT that certainly did it in.
I think I just rushed in a bit too quickly and didn't take the proper prep time beforehand. If I'd have went and bought a bunch of elixirs, because I know I had a ton of money.
Yep.
I would have been a little bit better off. I just had no healing other than a lucky Pearlwind off of the Stooges. And then just tier 2 just tore me apart.
Yeah. Well, Fitz did have access to mute. I thought it was on one of the spells very early on in the game, or Espers rather, but apparently it was not. It was in a path. So you and Fitz took wildly different paths through the seed, with Fitz getting Shadow and Lock from Burning House and Floating Continent, whereas you chose to go down the Terra and Cyan rabbit hole. When you got Cyan for Mobliz, were you like, oh, this is awesome, now I could go ahead and do Cyan's Dream and get all my sword techs for Setzer, and hey, let's see if I can get some Espers out of this as well?
I actually didn't think about the sword techs until after I'd finished the dream.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I was super happy to see him there, because that just kind of made me be like, okay, I found everything I need. Now I just got to try to get a couple more Espers, and then I can go to the training, get revenge on Goddess. I took a gamble and did the Doomgaze, Search the Skies, and ended up realizing I didn't have to fight Goddess.
Yeah, so you fought all 3 of the statue bosses in this particular seed.
I did not fare well against them.
Yeah, so I think Doom was the only one that you got on the first try. Whereas Poltergeist at the Inferno spot has got to be one of the worst things in Worlds Collide. That's sort of a oh my god moment, you know.
The wipe kind of hurt just because I had to run through the tower again, but
Yeah.
I knew that I had the shields that I'd be fine.
Well, it was also a nice heads-up play for you that you knew that Poltergeist was there, and you were like, okay, I know that Poltergeist is here. What's on this other side? And you were able to get through that fight and get a save point there, so you didn't have to do all that walking all over again.
I also didn't have a warp stone, so if things would have went bad, I wouldn't have been able to warp out either.
Ooh, yeah, that would be bad. The walk all the way back to the ropes is it's even worse than walking through the tower twice.
Yeah,
So-
that was one thing that I wanted to. I was hoping you'd do while Schwantz and I were talking there. I was like, maybe he goes for the Opera House Dragon play. That'll get you a few levels on your fighting party. That way you can kind of hit your mid-30s and end in your late 30s, kind of when you go through the tower. But you went right there, and I'm like, I like the confidence, but I don't know if he's gonna be able to do it.
I was feeling a bit of a time crunch because I knew I found a lot of dead chicks, and I had the wipe at Goddess already, so...
Yeah, that makes sense. That totally makes sense.
Yeah. I can see that feeling that way. You kind of want to just kind of run in and do your best. I still think that in terms of the Opera House Dragon, I think it only takes like maybe 2-3 minutes to get in there and kill him and leave. So I think that you could have spared the 3 minutes because it would have overall made your time faster. But hey, it could have not been statues, right? I just know that I had called the Doom and Poltergeist statue in Kefka's tower.
Yeah, it's Quack's
and
fault.
yeah, it is my fault. I said I'm scared for Cloud because in the pool of enemies we've seen so far, we haven't seen Doom and we haven't seen Poltergeist. So those are two statues that can appear in the statue spots. And there they were.
So
I'm like, oh no.
So during week 1, we did take a look at the standings before. I'm gonna flash them super fast while this fight's going on. Wait, there they are. Yep. So Cloud Darkwood, you were in 2nd, and One Free Fitz was in 5th. So now Fitz, you have the opportunity to gain, as much as 9 points within this particular division. And for Cloud Darkwood, you are forgiven 2 finishes, right? And it's one of those things where I don't know if you heard me mentioning it when you came in. If you're not having fun, then it's okay to say, yeah, I'm just not having fun. And speaking of not having fun, I don't think Nobody War put any gear on Saban, so that's why he fell over there. But anyway, yeah, so I guess first question for Fitz is, with you being currently in 5th place, knowing that you do get 2 of your runs forgiven, how important is it for you to get, a either 1st or 2nd place finish to accrue those points to potentially get those somewhat weaker runs forgiven?
Yeah, I mean, wins are big. That's 9 points. I'd love to get a first. I don't think I've gotten first in my time in the Ultros League. I've gotten a lot of seconds and thirds. And I kind of have seen you got to get some wins if you want to get promoted. It is nice having those cushion of dropping 2. So I definitely am a little bit more aggressive in the Ultros League play overall and take more risks because you can always drop 2 if it doesn't work out.
Yeah, so same question for you, Cloud Darkwood. With this race, obviously, this is one you're going to forget in the standings. How important does that make the rest of your races in order to, continue to be competitive and stay in the mix?
I mean, I don't really try to look at it as I'm trying to win. I'm just trying to keep being consistent is what my main thing was, which didn't happen today, unfortunately.
I'm still very impressed in terms of how you handled yourself getting up to KT. get through like Kefka's tower, and then getting into Kefka and at least actually getting to tier 3 at the low level you were, I was still very impressed. Schwantz can definitely vouch. I
Oh,
was
yeah.
I was super impressed that you had even gone in there. You had the chutzpah to go in, and you just went as hard as possible, and you did really well. You strategized. The RNG didn't really work itself into your favor, but that kind of happens.
Yeah.
And it's harder with having RNG going into your favor when you're such a low level. But you were able to kind of keep up in terms of getting there to a sub 130 time almost. So I'm still very impressed, and your growth as a runner is definitely impressive to watch too, in the Discord. So I mean, I would just shrug this off as no big deal, because I think you're actually a force to be reckoned with going forward.
One thing I have noticed when looking back at runs I've done, I tend to like squeeze through by the skin of my teeth on some of these late fights, and it might just be I'm under leveled or whatever, but
Yeah.
it is a consistent thing in my runs.
Yeah, well, levels are the single, obviously, most important thing in Worlds Collide, so it definitely, certainly helps, even more than having utility and things like that. So, question for, I guess, we'll continue with you, Cloud Darkwood. What's something you're going to learn from this particular run? As I had mentioned earlier in stream, with Worlds Collide, lessons are only learned the hard way. So what lesson did you learn today the hard way?
Well, one, don't go in under leveled.
Yep.
I knew I was under. I looked at my levels before I fought Inferno Spot, and I realized I was a little under leveled. I actually said it out loud, but I was muted and no one would be able to hear me. And so just go and take the dragon or something is always probably a good idea.
Yeah.
And make sure I have something for healing.
And then same to you, Fitz. What is something you're going to take from this run and either improve upon or do it again in a future run if it was something that you did really well?
I stayed in a nice like medium brain space where I was thinking and I had a plan, but I wasn't really overthinking it, and I kind of just did a good job of like figuring out what my characters were gonna do and be like, I'm good with that. Let's just try to go as fast as we can from there. I think I always got to work on not getting extra chests that I don't need. I was digging for one more elemental shield to cast Burden.
Yep.
I didn't even need to do that really. That's overkill. So still learning where the edge is.
Squack, you got anything for either of our other two runners here before we let them go?
Not really. Just, I guess, reiterate what I said before, and like, it's just you guys are getting better. You guys got a lot of knowledge on the game, and it's been really entertaining to watch you guys run. That when you guys finished tier 1 simultaneously, I was like edge of my seat. I was ready. I was ready to watch it all happen. But yeah, I just definitely really good runners in potions, so that's really awesome. I'm glad that the skill cap is raising slower and slower, and it'll eventually raise beyond what we think it is now. So good job, both of you.
Fitz, any other final thoughts before we let you go, and any other plugs you want to give, perhaps? Hint, hint, wink, wink.
Yeah, Gar and I, with the help of this guy, the Schwann's 27. I don't know if you've heard of him.
Who?
We did submit a run for Randomania. That is a randomizer marathon that'll be raising money for the National Alliance of Mental Illness, which is a pretty sweet cause. We won't know for a bit whether or not we got in.
I'm assuming we're going to get in. I
figure so too, and I would also say that like there is, I think Speed Gaming is putting on one for No Kid Hungry, and yes. Anyone that's thinking about it and it's like, maybe, I don't know, I encourage, do it. We've got people in the community that can help figure out how you're supposed to submit. and get a restream, so we got a nice submission for you, because it's always a lot of fun, and it helps us kind of get our game out there and do something good at the same time.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Thank you, Fitz. And again,
Nice, well said.
congratulations on your first place victory here. I believe you're also in first place so far this week. And obviously there are other runners that have to run their seed yet, but I'm pulling for you to grab that number 1 spot to get some more points after you were in 5th to start off with week 1.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you all for commentating and putting it on, and I'll see you all in the race rooms.
Sounds good.
Our pleasure.
Cloud Darkwood, any other final thoughts about the seed or anything we said before we let you go here?
Nope, just wanted to throw out a thanks to you for the restream, and then you and Squack for commentating. Makes
You're
it
very
fun
welcome.
to be able to do stuff like this.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for volunteering to be on Restream. I can't have the events and the races without the runners, so it's pretty awesome. So thank you again for volunteering, and we'll hope to catch you on the next one.
Yep. Bye.
All right.
See you, Cloud.
Yeah, so lefty Saban action going on here, as Green Monkey points out. We'll see if he comes through on this particular try. He did have 3/4 of his party frozen. A Merton from Terra did the trick to thaw out his party. However, he forgot to put his ice shields back on.
Oh,
Whoops.
no.
So, yeah, so he's still doing the recovery process here with his team. So, with Ultros League, even though it might seem like you're out of it, you just should probably finish all of the races that you are in, unless, like I mentioned, you're just not having fun, and then it's fine to be like, yeah, I'm not having fun. This will be one of my seeds that get dropped, because there are 8 weeks of Ultros League, right? 8 weeks, and we drop 2 of the lower placements. So
Yeah.
I mean,
So 6 valid seeds. Sorry, 6 valid weeks, and you can race 8. You can race 8 of those weeks.
Yep.
So you have 2 freebies.
Yeah, so one of those things is I do encourage people to try to finish seeds if they can or if they're able to, just because you learn, I think, much more from adversity than you do if like in this particular seed, Fitz found the shop at the Ragnaroks. It could be sort of easy if you find a shop like that super duper early in the game, right? It's a seed that doesn't take a lot of thinking to figure out, but sometimes the seeds that require more thinking are going to give you that much more of an edge against other runners in the same situation, right? So
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think Cloud could have had that race in a bag as well, just sewed up nicely. Had he just maybe killed a dragon or 2 or done something to gain a little bit more levels before he actually hit Kefka.
Yeah.
I think the lack of levels definitely hurt. But in terms of the speed that Fitz was able to handle that entire Kefka fight, it would have been hard for Cloud to really keep up.
Oh yeah.
He would have had to like one-shot the
Get
spicy
lucky.
chicken, doom, all that stuff. Right? Like he would have had to have a really good RNG with that. But unfortunately, it's just one of those things where, you live, you learn. There's nothing that much you can do about it except for, this is my freebie. No worries. Put it out of your mind. Trudge forward and not worry about it. Just focus on your future seeds so that you can get back in the point margin.
All right, so we're coming up to tier 3 here for Nobody War. Remember, we do not have access to Golem, because I believe that was in either Shadow or Locke's path. I think that was the Cave in the Veldt, right, that had Golem. So
Yeah.
Nobody War is not going to have access to Golem, so we'll see what he decides to do for his calmness here. And he also didn't find a lot of the Ragnaroks that we found. Even though he did go to the Burning House, it was in the World of Balance and not in the World of Ruin. So we'll see how he deals with this 2-part boss here with Girl and Sleep. Girl will
He
absorb.
accidentally cleaved.
Yeah, that was supposed to be 7 and it ended up being an 8. Usually that's not a bad thing in terms of like dating when you when you get
Yeah.
when you get an 8 that you thought was a 7, but not in Worlds Collide. We do have access to Atma weapon, and we have multiple people that can equip it, so that's how we're going to take out Girl right away, or at least how we can take out Girl. It's going to be tough because it's always a DPS arms race against Girl because she will heal the party with Pearlwind, as you see there. Was pretty lucky with Sword Tech 7 to get 3 out of the 4 against Girl. He's just got to keep at it.
Yeah, we got to see if he can just get that at weapon doing what he wants it to do and get Girl out of there. If she keeps spamming Pearlwind, it's going to take a real long time.
Yeah. Oof. Yeah, get Girl down first and then get your party back up afterwards. There we go.
Yeah,
very
for
nice.
sure.
Yeah, the Kefka fight sometimes is like a dance. It's knowing when to step on the gas and knowing when to step on the brake. And this is where we need to go heal the party back up and step on the brake. Sword Tech 5 is a popular option as, jeez. That
Whoa.
W wind.
And Power is going to get him his health back here, though, easily.
Yeah. So it looks like he's got both Palador and Phantom going. This might be a little early for Phantom.
Is
the
he's
problem-
doing it anyway?
The problem with Phantom is that even though all physical attacks will miss, of which Calmness is a physical attack, it means that all magical attacks will always hit. So you run the risk of accidentally getting hit by a Meteo, which normally isn't a huge deal because it has very low, a very low hit rate. But if you get hit
this
with
is
it,
rough.
yeah, so he's still in the W wind phase, so he's not into the Meteo phase yet. He's not under 30,000 HP, but he is using Sonic Dive, which will send his party down one by one. So this is a form of Calmness protection because you could shield some of your characters from Calmness. Unfortunately, these two are going to die because they still have Phantom on. And Strago is now going to die. Come on, Setzer.
No. I knew this was
And
gonna be
now
a
Setzer's going to get hit. Is he going to survive? Oh.
double Meteo. That's it.
Miss. Get the miss. Oh my god.
Yeah, I think Sonic Dive was bad there because from my counting, he was very close to being in Meteo phase. So the fact that he jumped down and Fire 3'd was just a bit much. Took him over the edge, and then he's just gonna keep countering attack with Meteo. It was just too much to ask there. I would have just waited on the Phantom, focused on the healing, and then done my counting.
Yeah, I think that play definitely would have worked had we done more damage to Sleep, right? If we noticed, okay, now he's in the Meteo phase. I think that play definitely would have worked. We would have had a lot better of a time. And it is Nobody War, I think, is joining us in the booth. He is muted at the moment. So please unmute if you'd like to talk. But that's one of the things where, if you're never in the situation where, oh god, I don't have Calmness protection, what do I do? Like, that's the sort of stuff that, can tend to happen to you. Anyway, how's it going, Nobody War? That was a bit of a rough go for you in this particular seed this week.
Oh yeah, no, it's all right though. This is kind of what I was expecting.
Well, we all can't be winners, unfortunately.
No, not at all. Yeah, I heard you at the end there. I was counting. I needed like 2 more attacks before the Palador would have worked, and I queued up the wrong spells after I jumped anyway, so it didn't even matter.
Yeah.
It was a rough one. It was a rough start from the first, like, oh, let's go check Burning House, and bam, M-Tech mobs, the same mobs that were in the tournament. Oh, spoilers. But
yeah, that was
yeah.
It was rough.
Yeah, it's just
That was
man,
also that was
can't
also a rough burning house.
had
And then
PTSD from that,
and then well, you also had trouble with the encounters. You had Madam Veteran, and you're like, all right, let's go
Well, yeah,
inside of the cave of the South Figaro cave, and then it was Doom Dragon, and you're like, God, get me out of here, please.
yeah, I was screaming that. I don't know if you heard me or not.
yeah. Thankfully,
I
you
know.
eventually found some good ones for you to, get
Yeah, I
off
had to
and
just
rolling.
yeah.
I also think part of the problem was you did a lot of checks with 3 characters, which, by its very nature is going to take a lot longer than if you have 4 characters too, right?
Bro, yeah. Where was Tara? I totally forgot.
Tara was in Daryl's tomb.
That's
if
right.
you did get through the burning house, which one free fits did, you were rewarded with Shadow, and Shadow got you.
Yeah, it's a lot quicker.
Yeah, Shadow got you Lock in the floating continent, and Terra got you Cyan, which you eventually got as well, and and Edgar. So
yeah, quicker Terra could have been a difference, but yeah.
It's one of those things where
a lot of dead checks with Saban's checks too.
Yeah,
just killed time, and then the warp stone debacle at the end. I was just punching myself. I cannot believe I put it at the top. I'm like, oh, I'm going back to Burning House. I'm gonna warp stone out of all these fights. Well, I never did that. Well, there they sat at the top of the menu screen. When I go to save, I'm like, no.
Oh God.
Oh no.
Yeah, so the tower was rough with your party reforms. For you, I guess for maybe this is a nice learning teachable moment. For you, when do you make that decision to say, I cannot defeat this boss, I have to eat the time loss and reform and walk all the way back through?
It's pretty much situational. It's like those characters and those bosses were never gonna work. You just you have to know the situations.
Yeah. And you tend to make that decision, right away versus me. I'm more willing to try 3 times and be like,
oh no, yeah. See, I know right away. If the 6 I had, that party formation would have been great if it would have been set up from the first time. I could have breezed through it, but
yeah. And then, of course, not having.
And I lose track of a lot of the stuff that I'm doing a lot of the times, especially when it's those last 3 fights. It's like who's doing what still.
Yeah. And then on top of that, the lack of calmness protection made us get creative in certain cases.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
I almost felt like I had 4 good people though, and even if I lost 1, I was fine. If I lost 2, it'd be, entertaining as always, but
entertaining is definitely a word for it, for sure. So that was the bummer. There was access to Golem through Cave on the Veldt. If you get Shadow, you got Golem. So that's how Fitz is able to overcome that, and he posted a very nice time.
Yeah, I saw that.
So you were currently in 4th in the standings before this particular week. This week is going to be a no thank you week. So going forward with the rest of your Ultros League seeds, is this going to affect how you play? Are you going to play more cautious so that you end up finishing the seeds, or are you going to continue to take some risks and some rewards?
Oh no, I'm all risk, all reward. It was my goal not to forfeit this season, but this one was a little rough. I could have finished this fight. I could have redone it. I could have put it in a 2.5-hour time, but not tonight.
Fair enough.
So yeah, Squack.
No more forfeits though.
Any questions for nobody? Yeah, okay. That's the goal for the rest of the season is
correct.
Finishing every seed.
I challenged the whole crew to that, but I see we already lost.
Yeah. Yep.
No, I think you covered basically all of the questions that I would have had asked. It did look like a rough seed in terms of the route that you and Cloud took. It just seems that Fitz found that one route that was a bit more easy peasy than the route that you guys took. So it just so happened that he had the the RNG worked pretty well in his favor. So I would just take that and be like, yeah, it is what it is.
Oh yeah, I blame Saban. It's his fault.
Yeah, 3 dead checks out of 5 total is pretty
Yeah,
bad.
give me a break, buddy. And then your brother comes along and he's still dead checks on the throne. I'm like, my guy, come on.
The Figaro bros are
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
fuck.
I thought that there might have been a potential for you to catch up because you got Edgar way before Cloud did. I think Cloud got Edgar right before he was at 5 and 8 when he got Edgar, whereas you got him way earlier. And I'm like, okay, maybe if Nobody War goes down to, Engine Room and Ancient Castle and pulls out a crazy Esper or finds a character with like Magitech or Throw or something like that, But
Auction House let me down, and I didn't want to do Zozo because I hadn't taken any dragons yet, and I wasn't about to start, so I wasn't definitely going down to the throne room either.
Yeah,
because that's just too long.
It is a very long, and I hate Edgar's checks more than I think he's my. Forget
early he's good, but
Elite River is
like
my
that.
least favorite because of exactly the reason why you just showed us on stream why the Elite River is the worst check in the game.
Well, I knew it had to be one of Terra's. yeah, it had to be. If all of Saban's checks had no progression, it had to be somebody somewhere.
Yeah, Edgar is my second least favorite checks in the game. Elite River is forever,
I did that one for you tonight. I'm gonna every time you restream, I'm gonna do it for you.
Well, please don't join my misery on my account. So, any other final words before we let you get out of here and relax for a bit?
No, I'm good. Thank you guys for restreaming and commentating and taking care of us tonight.
Make sure you do enter an FF in the
yeah, I
stream,
got you.
Otherwise, you're gonna, okay. Anyway, but yes, thank you for volunteering to be broadcast and for, I don't know if it was you or if it was somebody else, for organizing and saying, hey, Potion A wants to do a stream this week, but I appreciate that.
Yeah, it was me. But it's all good.
Great. And I apologize for being an idiot and not putting it on the speed gaming schedule. I already put next week's race on the schedule, so don't forget. So,
no doubt.
But yeah, thank you again for being featured, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Later, guys.
All right, see ya. And of course, you put the you didn't put it in the right room. You have to put it in the same room.
I see it. Got you guys.
There you go. Oh man, too funny.
Oh dude.
Anyway, Squack, you got anything else for us about what we saw tonight before we wrap this up here?
I think, in a nutshell, what we saw tonight was the culmination that, yes, it does pay to have good knowledge of the game, but it also pays to have levels and to hit a couple of dead checks sometimes. So, for any newer players looking to get into Worlds Collide, Ultros League, or whatever, sometimes dead checks ain't so bad. So keep running and keep trying to finish.
Yep. So dead checks might feel bad, but you get levels out of them, and that's good, right?
That's right.
Dead checks bad, levels good. That's
levels
all you need
good.
to know. Anyway, boys and girls, thank you, Squack, for doing commentary with me. Really appreciate you stepping in here at the last minute. So can't have the races without the runners either. So thank you to the volunteers for doing all they do. And we are going to go raid Magre, who's doing some more Ultros League practice. So if you like what you just saw, you're going to see more of it. Unfortunately, that's the way it goes here. We are in the season of Ultros League now that the Coliseum is over. So let's go say hi to him. And we will be back Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern on Speed Gaming. This time, I promise. And we'll see everybody later. Bye-bye now.
Take care, everybody.